The Columbus Citizens Foundation, which organizes the parade through Manhattan, announced the cancellation late Sunday evening, just over 12 hours ahead of its scheduled start time. The parade won't be rescheduled. The group added, I don't know if that's true. We will see. This is very, very sad. Because this week, my beloved Mrs. L, my wife, host of Warrior Wednesdays here on the other side of midnight with Lionel, we attended one of the most wonderful events ever. It was the 81st anniversary, or the 81st, excuse me, the 81st event of this wonderful called the Columbus Citizens Foundation 81st Ball Gala. It was incredible. At Cipriani, a veritable, just a who's who. And one of the honorees was, of course, those individuals responsible for this very show. That, of course, is our leader, our fearless leaders, John and Margot Katsimatidis, who through their work, their stalwart commitment to truth and free speech, allow us to do what we are doing here. Now, let me tell you something right now. And I'm going to say something, and you're going to say, oh, come on, you're just saying that. And I would say the same thing. I would say the same thing, because I don't believe anybody. But I have been doing this for a while. And I can tell you something. My first actual broadcast paid real gig is 37 years ago. 1988. And I have been through every permutation, every iteration of leadership you can imagine, from corporate to small to, you name it. And the best of the best that I've seen only twice, but number one here, is the ability to say what you want, to be left and let alone. Not micromanaged, not just to be encouraged. Do a good job. Have a nice day. Nothing to thwart, to minimize, to dilute your energy, your feeling, your fun, because once that happens, you're through. Once you second guess everything you're saying, it's prior restraint. It's horrible. So, in any event, we went to this event. It was wonderful. Black tie. My wife and I were ornately appointed in our silks and the like. But what amazed me, what reminded me of such a wonderful, wonderful message that was recurring throughout the evening, was the contributions that all of the. By the way, this is a promotion of Italian culture. But how everybody's grandparents and forebears came to this country and had an incredible story, leaving their country, their culture, their family, not being able to read, write English, with nothing in their pocket. And you hear these stories, and I don't know if anybody even does this anymore. No, today we have people just basically showing up and being handed an EBT or whatever, some kind of card, some type of payment. Here's an iPad, here's a backpack. Let me get a biometric scan and promise to vote Democratic for the rest. So they say. It is suspected. Far be it from me to know what's going on. And it made me think to myself, you know what? For those individuals who think that those of us in this particular line of work have some type of antipathy or hatred or dislike towards folks moving it, you're wrong. You're absolutely, positively, 100% incorrect. Because we are the beneficiaries of their hard work, their bravery. They were not welcome. I mean, they were just said, okay, here we go. Many of them showing up at Ellis Island, many of them being quarantined, some of them being turned back. This is a hard road, not like today. And those individuals, we recognize how important they were. But it made me think of also something else as we talked about Italian culture and what was. Two questions I want to ask you before we get into the heavy stuff, because this is heavy. This is heavy. It's also nostalgic, but it's very, very important that we recognize where we are from whence we've come, and why we are here. Number one, here's my question. Other than American, what is the ethnicity, the culture, the language, the style, the feel, the people, the whatever it is that you feel connected to other than American? That's number one. And number two, I want you to tell me about one particular person in your life, preferably a foreign born grandmother, grandfather, maybe a great uncle, somebody older that you really look back and say, you know what, I never realized how great they were when I was young. They were really something. And this could be any, whether, I don't care if it's Chinese, Korean, or Greek, or Turkish, it doesn't really matter. The elderly, those individuals. I mean, wouldn't you love to know your grandparents now? If you were roughly the same, this is one of my fantasies, to know my parents and my relatives at their age. To know my 67-year-old grandfather when he was 67. So I could relate, because we relate to them looking up as children. What would they be like? And I think back how lucky I was. My ethnicity, I'm going to go through my provenance. It's not that important. My mother's side was Scotch, Irish, German. I had no connection whatsoever. She was from elsewhere, and whatever. And I never really, I mean, I knew them, but I had no connection to anything German, nothing really. Which fine. But, and by the way, when I say German or Irish, it means that somebody along the road in my provenance may have perhaps sired someone in Germany. So that's it. But my father's side, two individuals. Number one, my grandfather was born in Puerto Rico, or Boricua, never spoke English. I knew, I loved him, but he never spoke English. But my grandmother, and this is the connection, she was Sicilian. And my father, growing up, had to learn Spanish to talk to his father, Sicilian to speak with his mother and her aunts, even though she spoke English. So that is what I knew. Sundays, my aunts, uncles, everybody. The only thing I knew other than my American connections was Sicilian. So all my cousins, all of them were from this group. My father, we had such weird thing. My father's two first cousins married each other. Think about that. So we had this intertwined thing. So all of my cousins, everybody that I knew came from the Sicilian sides. Our grandmothers were all of the sisters, and they were Sicilian. All of the food that we ate, the Sundays, Sicilian. Growing up in Tampa, we had three primary jurisdictions, so to speak. Number one was Spanish, and then later on Cuban. But later, for most of my life, Cuban. And Italian, but Sicilian. Specifically normally from Santo Stefano. They all seemed to just show up, and they all had that kind of a sort of connection. And there was Alessandria della Rocca and all these other places. But for the most part, and they spoke the same dialect, the same phraseology, the same food. And then there was the mixture of Spanish, again, Latin. They didn't use the word Latino, but Cuban, Spanish, and Sicilian, and they blended perfectly. The food was unbelievable, because we've been digging Cuban food forever. And one of the things I've noticed is that whenever you deal with any particular group of people who are primarily peasant, when I say peasant, I say that in the best of considerations, not in any way a pejorative, but you get the basics. All my life, our dialect was different. Later on, when I took Italian in college, I thought, is this what we're saying? Like my grandmother would say, pasta con lo sugo. That's it. I didn't even know what it was. It was one word, pasta con lo sugo. Pasta, I got that. And then that con lo sugo. Sauce, gravy, no, sugo. Later on, it was sugo. I don't know. We called it sugo, I guess. I don't know. It was always this fast blast of words, like pasta con l'olio. Boom. What does that mean? We loved it. That I didn't know it was cool. Now everybody wants to make it. Oh, it's aglio e olio. What? Is that what I've been saying? Pasce con l'olio. Sfingi. Pignolata. Whatever. And then everybody said the same thing. Everybody said this. It was this thing. And I saw all of the grandmother. And if I see a woman like an old Sicilian grandmother, my heart, I cry. I am butter. I'm melted. I have no. They can say whatever they want. They're just this. I don't even know if we even have them anymore. I don't know if we even have them anymore. They all wore the same clothes. They had they had the nonna. You might call it nonna. We call it nonna. And that's the way it is. Sorry, we can talk about this. And people will correct me. No, that's the way you said it. We're different. But they went to the uniform to have sometimes some grandmothers would have the chignon. We had the Italian dress, the shoes. And we had names. The names for people. And I never knew how to spell them. We had Nana, and then her mother, whatever was Nanaranne, and I don't even know how you I don't know how you spell that. There was the names like Salikia. Somebody had like a relative Susupina. What? Salikia? What is this? We had. It was just. We had Pina. We had a bunch of Joes. Pino. Joe was like Pino. Pina, Rose. Sia Carmelina came out. Cimelina. Boom. Everything truncated. Everything shoved together. And they were all the same. And they were all. And Sundays or whatever, we had cousins, and there would be this loud love, but it was an eating, and there was one picture I can see in my mind of my Aunt Josephine, and she married a guy named Valentine, and we called him Valentin, and he would always, hey, that was his whole thing. Nicest guy in the world. And I look at that picture and I said, I didn't even know how blessed I was. I took it for granted. I didn't understand it. I was a kid. All these people, and everybody was retired. Nobody worked. They all had homes, and they all had money. They'd slip you a little bit here and there. It's the most wonderful thing in the world. And all of them came from elsewhere, worked hard. In Tampa, they were in the cigar factory, or both my father's parents were cigar makers. Put them through law school. They're just hardworking, just didn't think anything of it. And so many people now, when it's too late, realize we didn't know how great it was. We didn't know. So today, before we get into this heavy stuff, whatever, I want to pay an homage in reflection, of course, of Columbus Day. But I don't care if you're Chinese. Doesn't matter. I don't care. America is still the melting pot. Don't ever let anybody fool you. And you may have a strong feeling against illegal immigration, but nobody has anything against immigration. This is Lionel with you, and this is The Other Side of Midnight. Time at the 81st annual, this is the Columbus Day gala. I think it's gala. You say whatever you want. And it was just beautiful. And it made me think about hearing these wonderful stories about Maria Bartiromo was the speaker. And all these folks who just told these incredible stories. And it made me think, my God, because they are who we are. They are who we are. Ladies and gentlemen, let's go to our good friend Vincent in Brooklyn. Vincent, can you relate, my friend?
Yes, indeed, Lionel. What you're saying mimics my family story. My mother was Sicilian. My father was Calabrese. And because they didn't understand each other's language, they spoke in Napolitan.
Right.
Because both of them, and I knew I was up the creek when they would start speaking Italian in front of me and everything. I knew I was in trouble because they would speak in dialect and I couldn't understand it. Eventually, because in Italy now, you have to, especially with the advent of TV, and for contract law and stuff like that.
Right.
And in school, they don't teach dialect anymore. You can learn it as a second language. In fact, if you ever wanted any cookbooks in dialect, I have a good library of even dictionaries in dialect.
There's some wonderful. You know what's funny, Vincent? There's like I used to hear that somebody that we knew, somebody in our family spoke this thing called gege. I don't even know what it was, but they made it sound like oh. It was like this was even super secret. On YouTube, there's this wonderful page you can hear the word in Italian or Roman. And by the way, to say. There's no such thing as Italian. It depends upon where. But anyway, classic Roman Italian, and then hear the Sicilian pronunciation. They're absolutely, for example, when it ends in like beddo,
right. Bed.
Right.
Bed means bella.
Right.
Bello,
like bedamate,
Bedamate means blessed mother.
Right. But I mean, but also it's like an interjection. But if I say, como sia bedu, BDDU, oh, it's Sicilian. Got it. It's like you can hear, like I can hear, for example, when a Puerto Rican speaks, I can hear a word, I can hear a phrase. But aside from that, though, Vincent, how did these people do it? They came. Nobody. There was no sponsor.
Lionel, recently, in fact, yesterday, I gave to one of my cousins my grandmother's birth certificate that I got from Sicily. I gave him a copy of it. How did they do it? I mean, it's the American dream, literally.
Yep.
My grandfather on my mother's side, he came to this country in 1912. He was 16 because he had 5 brothers. His father dropped dead. His mother was a widow. They were eating at a In fact, I remember my grandfather saying that they looked forward to Sunday because there were these people who lived on a hill. They had a villa, and on Sundays they would go up there and get their leftovers.
Oh. Isn't
right?
that something?
Now, we can't even imagine that today.
No.
We can't even imagine that today. Literally, when my grandfather came here, he was 16, went to work with his uncle in Philadelphia after he landed at Ellis Island, hopped on a train, went there, and learned the craft of being a shoemaker. And then when he came here, my mother told me, he was selling apples in the street. He had a crate. He was selling apples. And then 2 weeks before the Depression, bought his first apartment building. You go figure.
Yeah, right.
Go figure.
I know. It's something that I don't think anybody understands it. But by the way, in addition, not only of the Italians or the Sicilians, but also there's so much about others. There are some Chinese stories that I just blow me away, and Indian as well. But let me tell you the story. The similarities that they have, Vincent, and I think you agree, is that there was
similarities they had. They worked their balls off, Lionel.
But they want to assimilate. They didn't.
Exactly.
Nobody in your family wanted to come here and basically recreate Palermo. It's like no. They waved the flag, and when their nation called, whatever the war, they were there first.
They were there.
Vincent, I thank you, my friend. All the best, my brother. Oh, I'm sorry about that. Did not mean to cut you off. Let's go to Ron in Michigan. Ron, you're on the other side of midnight with Lionel.
Good morning, Lionel. Lionel, my mother told me when I was about 11 years old, because I used to love to sit at her feet when she was like in the evening reading her Sun Times. I said, because I was starting to study history, I said, Ma, what do you know about the Ku Klux Klan? Mm-hmm. And she got real quiet, and real serious. And I said, Ma, did you hear me? Did you hear me? And she said, don't ever praise the Ku Klux Klan. I said, why? She said when she was a little girl, her family was driven out of southern Illinois by the Ku Klux Klan. Now, they immigrated from Sicily after World War I. Mm-hmm. My mother was born here. I don't know what the story was in southern Illinois. I don't know because they were Italians. I don't know because they were Catholic. Maybe they were coal miners. There was a mining region. But they were driven out of southern Illinois. They moved up to Chicago. My mother said then they got a black hand note saying, pay up or we kidnap your daughters. My mother said her father, my grandfather, went to meet him with a shotgun. He never came home. Okay, so her mother was sick. The youngest girl, Rose, she was dying. Their dog was torn apart. So you had these, Auntie Joe, Auntie B, Uncle Sam. They had to take care of the family, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And what can I tell you? But my mother, I always asked her, I said, Ma, how come you never taught us to speak Italian? Now, she spoke Sicilian, not Italian.
Right.
And she said, you don't want to learn that stuff. That's not, my opinion was, if she had taught us Sicilian,
Absolutely.
With the people we knew, that's like a college degree for the mafia.
Absolutely. Well, you know what? Maybe perhaps, and I appreciate that. But, a lot of times people thought, interestingly enough, that somehow that would either hold you back or that would have done something that in some way would have, I don't know what the word is, that would have affected you negatively in some way. I don't know. It's hard to explain that mindset. Chris in Chicago. Chris, you're on the other side of midnight with Lionel.
I've been on hold for a while. You have many different people on your show.
Chris, thank you for pointing that out, and thank you for letting us know that. I appreciate that. I didn't know that. I didn't know that.
Well, I have to listen onto you on the internet.
Okay. This is fascinating.
This last guy with the KKK.
Yeah.
I was like 1977.
Uh-huh.
I worked at a gas station, and a Cadillac came up. It had a honeycomb grill, and it looked on the side. It said KKK.
I tell you what, you can tell a story, my friend. Let's go to Sam in Colorado. Sam, you're on the other side of midnight with Lionel.
Yeah, my grandma and my grandpa, they came from Italy. They came over here, like 10 years older than you. They came over and landed in New York somewhere. I don't know if Ellis Island. They stayed there for a little while. Then I think my grandfather, he died before I was born. He was in Argentina or something, and they came up, and they all worked in the coal mines in Colorado.
Wow.
Yeah, and the one phrase they used to say is "Que te dice, Walio?" And that means, what do you say?
Yeah.
And Walio, I don't know, that was a dialect thing.
Right, exactly.
And my grandmother, she was so cool. And she's like the grandmother you're talking about.
Right.
They made gnocchi and polenta.
Yep.
That was just cornmeal, and it was like English the dumplings, and they just put tomato sauce on everything.
And what's also fascinating to me, Sam, is that everything that we're doing now, all of this food that is so cool and considered so whatever, is nothing but basically refined or revised versions of this. I don't want to say peasant food, but very, very, very basic stuff. Nothing really that complicated. But for example, the pasta aglio e olio, which of course, as we would say, pascio con l'olio, which now is like they're saying, here's a 15-minute. Like, I had this all my life. And also, believe it or not, from the viewpoint of actual nutrition, believe it or not, a lot of the stuff was not with a lot of meat, a lot of organic. It was grains, and it was plant-based. It was wonderful. Actually, great food for you. Terrific. Let's go to Dell in Ontario. Dell, you're on the other side of midnight with Lionel.
Lionel.
Yes, sir.
I've been waiting down here for a long time, because of the internet and stuff. No, I'm just kidding. Anyways.
I thought, I got two of those? Oh, my God.
Yeah, because of the internet,
Yeah, right.
I come from the Azores. I was born there and moved to Canada.
Where are the Azores?
The San Miguel, St. Michael.
Mm-hmm.
The Azores it's in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean between Europe and North America.
And do you speak Azorian?
Absolutely.
And what does that? And what does that connote?
Lionel, get this, right? We're Portuguese, right? We're all Portuguese.
Yeah.
So when the mainlanders come over for like a certain story, they have to put subtitles when somebody's interviewing somebody.
Really?
Because our dialect's so different. nobody understands what the hell we're saying.
That always fascinates me. And I love when somebody can listen to someone and tell where they're from by virtue of the
Absolutely.
I think that's incredible. Yes, sir.
And Lionel, one more thing.
Yes, sir.
In our island, I mean, this thing is the size of Central Park. Okay.
Uh-huh.
When you go to each town, each town has their own dialect,
right?
The way they speak.
See, I think that is the most incredible. For example, there's something here in New York that what we are losing, and I'm sorry to say this, we are losing the New York accent, and I'm sorry to say that, but if we keep this up. Years ago, there were differences. You could almost hear, like the Archie Bunker. George Carlin does a great distinction, and Brooklyn had it. The Bronx, Jersey had it. Philadelphia has a definite accent. I love accents. I love pronunciations. I love. How many times have you listened to somebody, and all of a sudden they say a boot, and you go Canada. That's it. Just one word. That's it. Got it. Figured it out. There was a rule, a story years ago. Maybe Vincent would know about this. The garbanzo bean, the ceci, ceci, ceci. By the way, remember this? I told you this. This old trick for spelling the C's in Italian. Cacocucice. C-I-C-O-C-U. Cacocu. C-I-C-E, chiche, kakoku chiche. All right. The ceci beans, I forget exactly how it worked. Either the Sicilians hated the French were responsible for the mafia, morte alla Francia, Italianella. That story of how the word mafia came about, which is not true, but it's, this acronym for death to France is Italy's cry. Nah, didn't happen. Anyway, but there was a real, not a particular fondness for the French. So anyway, supposedly, I don't know who did it, I don't know but they would hold out a ceci bean and say, pronounce this. What is this? And if they heard something like sheshi or something, they'd kill them. That would indicate you were of the wrong side. I love dialects, and I love the way people say, and I love to figure out where they're from. And I was trying to tell somebody one time that I can hear sometimes Northeast, Midwest, Chicago for sure, Philly for sure, certain things. And I love when the Irish can listen to somebody, obviously it's all Northern, Southern, Belfast versus, what have you. But when you hear British describe their particular, that's Birmingham or that's Yorkshire. Like I remember when the Yorkshire Ripper, remember that when he was leaving the messages, they go, Yorkshire! They knew right away. But my favorite are Geordies from Newcastle. The greatest accent I think I've ever heard in my life. I love it. I love it because I love the way people speak. I was told sometimes, correct me if I'm wrong, that in American Sign Language, there are not accents per se, but flares and way of saying things that are also indicative of style and culture. I find that fabulous. Melvin in the Bronx. You're on the other side of midnight with Lionel.
Greetings. Since this is Columbus Day weekend, when are you going to talk about Mussolini stand up there talking about we're going to restore to Italy the glory of Rome and invade Ethiopia?
Next Tuesday, make a note of it. Charlie in Cherry Hill. Charlie on the other side of midnight with Lionel.
Thank you for taking my call. And I have a question for you regarding the mayor's race. When can you hold a moot court competition on your show, with you being the judge, of course, since it's your radio show, it's
Correct.
your show. Well, what do you think about holding a moot court competition where
court?
Who
would be the litigants? Moot court? I mean,
yes, moot court.
Who would be the participants? How would we do this?
Now, that is a good. Well, we would get advocates for.
You mean a debate? You just want to debate.
Yes. Well, if you remember the moot court competition, which law students do,
I remember it very well. But I'm saying normally you have a case, appellant, appellee, or whatever, and then you have a case. Who would it be? Would it be Curtis against Cuomo, against Mamdani? Who? How would we do this?
Well, we would get advocates for the three of them, each one advocate, obviously.
You know what? I'll tell you what. Next Wednesday we'll do that. Tuesday we'll do the first one, and Wednesday we'll do that. Whatever that means. John on Long Island, you're on the other side of midnight with Lionel.
Yes, on the topic of accents, both my parents come from Italy. And obviously, I learned a dialect from my grandmother. And when I go back to Italy every year, they don't recognize my form of talking. And my mother told me, or my dad told me too, during Mussolini, he pretty much took over the country. He said that we can't be a nation if we don't speak the same language. He started to standardize the language. And that's what happened. He started to move the country in a different direction. I go to Italy now, and I learned words I never heard in my life, things I never heard before, obviously. But the expression, how they express certain words, certain terms they use is really, really wicked. So the language is really advanced. Many, many verbs. And, obviously the Italians, they're great with language, but they can't get their act together in Italy, that's for sure. But
what everybody remembers, everybody here in this, at least, I don't know about you, but if I ask somebody, do you remember your mother or your grandmother or whatever, did you ever hear the word becauso or the becaus or something along those lines, either becauso or variations of that? And that always meant the bathroom. I never thought about anything. I thought the bake, the bake house. It meant the back house. I had no idea. But it didn't, I had no, there are words too. Another one's, put it this way. I don't want to go into the specifics, but a word that becomes Americanized that can be used either for, God forbid, sometimes even racist or mean or pejorative can start from the pronunciation of certain words. One of my favorites is eggplant. Aubergine is my favorite. I don't know what the hell that was. First time I heard that. Is it melanzana or melanzane, the plural, or as we would say, melanzane, which has nothing to do. I don't know where that came from. No idea. That's what everybody called it. That was it. But eggplant, we called it pupedo, or they would call them polpetta. And you can go through this, chipuda, all of these, they're basically the same word. But each of them connotes something completely different. By the way, do you know, speaking of my good friend Curtis Lewa, one of the funniest things he ever said, I don't even think he meant, I've got a list of every, in the old days, Curtis was very, maybe not so much now, but in the old days, he was most colorful with his versions of the mother tongue. Iterations, variations, versions of, we called it Sliwanics, spoonerisms, malaprops, inverted words. They were great. And I've got a list of them. There was a woman years ago who used to listen to us. Her name was Doris Wasser. Doris Wasser put together, she had a list of everything Curtis ever had said. And she sent it to me, and I compiled it and added my own. Like, for example, the flamingos coming back to Capistrano. What? He would say it, and you weren't really sure exactly what the real one was. Like he'd say, between a hard rock and a hard spot. Huh? A knight on a white shiny horse. Huh? Alzheimer's disease. Who? You said, wait a minute, you mean, no, that's not it. But one time he said, one of the, years ago I was walking by and he was talking about, he was doing a Bertolli olive oil commercial. And he said, because Curtis, as you know, sometimes is up like 9, 10 hours, 10 days in a row. I mean, he'll say things. That's when he's at his best. And he said something to the effect of, he said, I think it was his beloved grandfather, who was a big professional wrestling fan. Anyway, somebody said in his family, on the Italian side, he said he would take Bertolli olive oil and rub it on his foreskin to grow hair. I remember I was walking by in the old Two-Pen Plaza, and I turned the corner, and I looked at him, and I said, "Excuse me, I don't want to break in. You don't just walk into somebody's show when they're talking. It's a little courtesy. But this time, it was a pun there, courtesy. Anyway, so I walked in and I said, excuse me, my brother, in solidarity, as we used to address each other. I said, what was that? He said, I take Bertolli olive oil and rub it on my foreskin to grow hair. I said, all right. Far be it from me to tell you what to do. And I'm sure it works. Why you want to do that, I have no idea. But why would you? He meant forehead. He said there was some kind of an Italian. I said, but again, why would you want to grow hair on your forehead? How about your head at the forehead? In any event. But one time he said, Columbus Day, and this is on my list. Did you gentlemen know that Columbus had 4 ships? Probably didn't know this. You thought for a year, 4 ships. The Nina, the Pinta, the Santa, and the Maria. Now, first time I heard this, I thought, no. And it was one of the many. So I'm going to bring in, if I read them, I have like 10, 12 pages, single spaced. They're incredible. It was, forget Norm Crosby, forget, whatever it was. Malaprop spoonerisms, but Sliwonics. Remember when they talk about Ebonics? Forget Ebonics. That's nothing. Sliwonics was the way to go. But anyway, going back to this, I have an absolute plan. And what I'd love to do is I'd love to rent out. I don't know if we even have them anymore. I don't know if we even have old nanas, nonnas. I don't know if we have, with the black dress and the old lady shoes and all this stuff. I don't think we have that anymore. But if we could somehow loan them out. And by the way, same thing I think goes for older, growing up in the South, black grandmothers. There was a place years ago on the beach, St. Pete Beach, called Doe-Al, DOE-AL. I don't know what it meant. And it was two black ladies who ran this place. They had Brunswick stew and all this stuff. And if you went in there and you liked it, you'd get more. And you say, oh, no. It was just wonderful. There was a sense of, again, Southern, but now grandfathers are great too. Don't get me wrong, but sometimes they can be a little harsh. Grandfathers can be, you look at your grandfather sometimes and you think, especially World War II, some of these guys were killers. And you might think, oh, that's Pawpaw or some name. Why they give grandparents names, I have no idea. It's mom, dad, papa, mama, mommy, daddy. Okay, there's a certain range. But when it comes to grandparents, anything goes. Who knows anyway. So, some of these guys are really tough. Like, I'll tell you one. I've got this friend of mine whose father actually landed on Omaha Beach. When they say, sometimes they kind of, they were there, but I don't know if he was on D-Day. This guy was there. And I used to see him pictures later on when they loved him and he took him to the Yankees game. He looked like, oh, this sweet old man. I saw this picture of him in a kind of like a shadow box of his picture, his ID when he was in the Army with the CIB, the Combat Infantry Badge. And this guy had a look on his face that you can only get by seeing the worst and maybe sometimes doing the worst. I mean, so when you look at your grandpa and you look at them, they can be tough. But grandmothers are oftentimes, that's what brought everybody together. Those are the ones who melt my heart. I look at them and I just, have you seen on YouTube, they have, I think it's called, there's these wonderful cooking shows of these old ladies, wonderful, called Nonna's, let me see, Nonna's Cooking. Yeah, there's all of these. Yeah, there's just look up like Nonnas, all these nonnas, and they have these women, these wonderful Italian women, who their grandson will say, Nonna, make us something. And there's no measuring, they use the same frying pans, or they use the same, and it just absolutely, it just melts my heart. They're the most beautiful. Let me also tell you something. With all of this talk, listen carefully to what I'm saying. With all of this talk about what is a man and what is a woman and transgender, to me, the most beautiful example of the woman in all of her glory is the nun or the nonna. When you get to a certain age, first of all, they don't care about anything other than love. They know they're like, it took all of this time for them to concentrate into this beautiful, this critical mass of humanity. They love people. They love her. They just have this look. I'm telling you, I think they're the most wonderful thing in the world. And if we could somehow introduce them to a lot of punks, I think they would melt the hearts of the hardest soul. I really mean that. I really mean that. In any event, on this terrible day here in New York City on Columbus Day, it's just saturated, horrid. Our number is 800. I never got the number one time. 800-848-9222. 800-848-9222. And don't forget, you can follow me at Lionel.news. See all my stuff, Lionel.news. More coming up. On YouTube, Nonna Pia, Nonnapia, Nonna Pia. Then there's the spicy nonna. But the best is you got to see Pasta Grannies. 1 million subscribers. Pasta Grannies. Unbelievable. These are women from Italy, and you can see them in their Italian homes, in their Italian kitchens, in their Italian. It's beautiful. And everything they are doing. People think, oh, interesting. It is so complicated. It is, I mean, it is for some reason people think, well, they really can't, they sort of cook. No. Oh my God, no. We had, when I was we had pizza, for example. What do you call it, pizza? They call it scacciata, but also we had this one, and they have it in Tampa. I don't know if they have it here. But it was G, which is spelled like Giri. I never knew how to spell it. G, and it's Swiss chard, but we had this one pizza that's just basically a bread with a little garlic and olive oil, nothing on it. Then there was a scacciata, and then the other one, which is kind of like you've probably seen it before, but this one with G, oh my God. And I ran into it not too long. They also had the wedding cake in Tampa. Growing up at Alessi Bakery, they had the wedding. Whenever you went to a birthday party, whenever you went to anything, you had to get this one. It's the scacciata, but it's kind of like this huge sheet, and it was mandatory. Mandatory. And I defy you to find anything better. I defy you. Jeff in Jersey City. Jeff, you're on the other side of midnight with Lionel.
Hello, Lionel.
Yes, sir.
And I pay respect to Columbus, the greatest sailor in history, in my opinion. Just a humble opinion.
Indeed, sir.
But when we're talking about the immigration story, my family, my grandparents came here from Greece.
Oh, wonderful.
Yes. It's a fabulous story. My grandfather was very successful in the liquor and delicatessen business, and my grandmother actually wanted to send us to Greek schools so I would learn that great language. Mm-hmm. My father, intent on being American, said, no, they're Americans. They're going to American schools.
Well, okay.
But you know what? It's all part of the deal. I regret that I didn't learn it. But I have a absolutely fully Greek name after my grandfather, which he actually donated a lot to Ellis Island.
Really?
So there's a story. Yes, there's a story down there at Ellis Island. So that's my story.
Well, what's also, Jeff, is that you better be a good speller if you're going to be Greek. You better know how to spell, because you get some names there that are like Papadopoulos. Like, oh my God!
I could do Yaya and Papu. You know what that is, right?
I have no idea.
Just take Yaya's grandmother, Papu is grandfather.
There you go. Have you ever heard of Tarpon Springs in Florida? In Pinellas County on the West Coast, there's Tarpon Springs is an Italian, it's a Greek enclave. These were sponge divers. And so we had this very Pappas restaurant, very famous. We always had that as a part of our admixture. Then we had this introduction thing called Greek pizza. And then this one, the pizza styles came in. That's also, and kind of out of all the styles of pizza in the country, it's not new, but when it comes to Greek bakeries, oh, stop it. Baklava, if ever there is something that says, let's take every ability that people have to say no to something and make it sweet, syrupy, savory. It's like crack. It's like, are you kidding? On phyllo dough? Are you kidding me with nuts? It's like, stop it. Cinnamon, stop it. I can't take it. Oh my God. Spanakopita and oh God, it's wonderful. Moussaka. Love that stuff. Hey, listen, Jeff.
Moussaka is big. Yeah, it's a constant.
It's the best. Listen, thank you, my friend, and thank you for sharing it. And you know what? And let's just send a shout out to your family and your heritage. Send out positive energy. I know that sounds kind of corny. Sometimes I think I'm not really one who's spiritual, but I believe in this thing called energy. I really do. Coming up, hour number 2. Can we say what we want in this country? Hell no. I don't know where you got that from. We'll talk about that and your thoughts and comments on this miserable day in New York City, but I'm so glad you can be with us on the other side of midnight with Lionel. Headed back to Israel. The world is watching. This is unbelievable. Happiness, elation, thanks to, and this is what history will note, thanks to President Trump. Hamas started to free the last remaining hostages in Gaza Monday morning, following an historic peace deal brokered by President Trump. The freed individual had spent over 730 days in captivity after they were among a group of 250 kidnapped from southern Israel and taken into Gaza during the October 7th invasion. Now, let me explain something to you. No matter what you say, no matter what you think, no matter whether you like Trump, don't like Trump, whatever your particular phrase is, from merely, forget the humanitarian point of view, which is certainly significant. From a political point of view, this is absolutely exemplary. This is over the moon. There is absolutely, this is, how do we say, Grandisonian, enormous, absolutely, positively. What this does, and I'm saying I don't want to in any way bring this back into the notion of the political, but what this means is so, it's hard to put into detail. The Democrats right now are wondering, what the hell do we do? Now, again, remember, I'm not trying to blend the two, but looking at what's happening, whatever this man does, whatever he says, and by the way, how this also changes the tenor, the convection, so to speak, the direction of the whole Middle East argument and dialogue, it changes everything. It changes everything. This is enormous. I don't think anybody grasps that. And the left and the Democrats are reluctantly trying to say, well, maybe. Okay, okay, fair enough. All right, President Trump, I guess you did a good job. Yes, absolutely. It's beyond anything anybody can understand. So I just think it's terrific. And this president, it's one thing about him. You got to know how this guy works. Trump does things, and I swear to God, if you follow him, if you how do I say this? if you follow what he does, if you listen to him, on one day he'll say X, and the next day he says Y. And good luck trying to figure out the sequencing of this. I don't know how it works, but he does this. And right now he is under an attack. Let me just put that over here in one particular batch. I'm giving you the news, my take on the news, and sometimes it's not exactly what you're going to like. Now, let's go from that good news to this perhaps bad news. I'm just saying, be very, very careful. I told you regarding the Comey indictment, we have 3 court cases that I want to discuss. One is the Comey indictment. That thing is going to go bye-bye. It is a dog. It is absolutely one of the worst cases ever. Ever. And I'm sorry to say this to you. I hate to keep bringing it up, but what Lindsay Halligan is doing in the Eastern District of Virginia, I don't know. Eric Siebert, who was the U.S. attorney, had some real reservations regarding Comey. And the word is that President Trump did not like the speed, the alacrity, or the lack thereof of what was happening. And he said, in essence, I'm going to put an end to this. You better do something and do something now. I mean, now. Do it now. And he said, I can't. Okay, you're out. Here comes Lindsay Halligan, his personal attorney. And the Comey indictment is such a dog. Remember, I'm telling you, I'm sorry. I wasn't there. Nobody asked me my opinion. Next. Now, hang on. I hope you're sitting down. Be very careful regarding this Letitia James case. It may not be the slam dunk that you thought it was. Again, brought by Lindsay Halligan in the Eastern District of Virginia. I think she went to, what was it, Norfolk, one district, and then Alexandria. She went to 2 different grand juries where there's a lot to know about Fannie Mae, what constitutes mortgage fraud. Do you have to stay there? Do you have to live there? What exactly do you have to do? And I mean, who knows? It's not what you think. Very, very scary stuff. I'll talk about more of it, but I'm saying, do not just jump into this and think it's a slam dunk. And everybody's saying, and I've done the same thing too, because I just want there to be some kind of justice. Where she said, nobody's above the law. Okay, you're right about that, but now can you prove this? She has Abby Lowell and all these others who represented. He's the Democratic guy to go to. He represented. Anyway, sorry for that. Next, this is the third one that kind of sort of concerns me. This is Luigi Mangione. Luigi Mangione, they're going to be claiming that he wasn't read his rights, they didn't have a warrant. I need to know a little bit more about this. But I want to just say something to you right off the bat. This is the most important thing in the world, especially if you watch like I do. Karens being arrested, and if you like, arrest videos of people in general. There is a belief system in this country that when you are arrested, for some reason, this magical incantation is that you be read Miranda. That's what happens when you're arrested. People who are arrested get Miranda. You didn't read me my rights. When are you going to read me my rights? You didn't read me my rights. I don't have to read you. Oh, I know my rights, and you didn't read me my rights. When are you going to read? And they say this, then they think somehow that this means something. And you ask, well, what exactly did the reading your rights mean? What did that convey or connote or what? And they say, I don't know. But I've been watching TV for so long that, let me just give you this quick little legal review here. Very, very simple. C plus I equals M. Custody plus interrogation is Miranda. Number one, you got to be in custody. What does that mean? You're not free to leave. And number two, you're being interrogated about a particular crime. Not asked about what's the weather, where you're from, nothing really pro forma, but specifically you're asked about, very, very simply, custody plus interrogation. Custody, are you free to leave? No. Are you being interrogated? Yes. And then Miranda. And Miranda very simply meaning that you must be read. And the only way, if I want to use what you say, If I'm asking you questions and you're in custody and I'm interrogating you and I want to be able to use that later on, should you say something of import, I must read you the Miranda warnings ahead of time. Period. End of discussion. If you blurt them spontaneously, if you say them without me asking you questions, different story. Different story altogether. Don't need it. Don't worry. Voluntary statements, don't worry about it. Also, things not asking questions about the crime itself. It doesn't mean anything. So if I'm not asking you a question, if I'm not physically actually saying, let's talk about the case. Did you this? Were you this? Would you? Any police officer who does not read Miranda should be stripped of their badge immediately. I don't know why people wait. I don't know why they hesitate. People who are going to talk to you, talk to you. People who are going to talk to you, whether you read them. In fact, they feel somehow, believe it or not, because of this incantation sense that Miranda has provided over the years with all these TV shows, they feel kind of at home. Like, good, now I'm okay. He's reading the rights. I don't know why, but they do. So there's a question regarding Luigi Mangione. Did they read him his rights? Did they have a warrant? I need to find out more about that. Search an incident to an arrest does not require a warrant. If I'm arresting you, I can look through your backpack, your pockets. I can make sure you're not having any kind of you're not carrying any weapons. I can inventory what you're doing. So we're going to see about that. There's also the chance of taking matters out of the realm of the death penalty, because whether stalking necessarily involves violence, that's another issue. But the other one too, which I cannot tell Pam Bondi enough to stop. Please, 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 Pam, please keep quiet. You don't have to explain to people anything about the gravity of the case, how guilty he is, how horrible he is, the degree of horror, the violence. We don't need that. You don't need that. You don't need to say it. It goes without saying. You don't have to explain this to you. But there's this sense, and I'm sorry, there's this sense of how people love to play for the audience, for the cable news audience, and not for the direct audience. Yesterday, my wife and I happened to have met with a friend of ours, and it's a young man in the military, and they were describing. I said, what do you folks in the military? I'm not going to go into which branch. What do you think about Pete Hegseth? And they all say, joke. This is ridiculous. $60 million to bring generals. Yeah. You're right about people being in shape, but no. So while I love the president, and I love for the most part the efforts that people are directing towards changing things, there's a lot of people who understand that when it comes in the world of military and others, you can't involve yourself in doing things that play great on cable news, but don't really affect the how do I say this? It doesn't do well for the groups, for the troops. Let me explain to you about something which is further. When the president is doing something great, as he's doing right now, just turn on any TV show. They're going crazy. Hostages freed. People are celebrating. This is Trump's moment. Don't miss this point. Don't miss the point. It's killing the left. It's killing them. This is his legacy. It's one thing when you talk about Camp David. Okay, that's nice. The Camp David Accords, the Abraham. Okay, this is families, flags, crying, songs, celebration, reunification. This is so visceral, so intellectually and spiritual connective tissue. Don't let this go by. Everything is politics. Everything is politics. And this is his moment. Now, that being said, you are under no compulsion to necessarily think that everything he does is terrific. Not everything is. Not everything is. Not everything he does is wise. And I will tell you this accordingly. But remember, be able to separate these things separately or differently. Now, here's a question I want to talk to you about. And this is the most important. Do you honestly believe if I were to tell you in this country we have freedom of speech, do you believe that? Is there freedom of speech? Now, freedom of speech, I guess you could say, means that, well, are you necessarily locked up? No, you're not locked up. No, you're not. No. That's not the case. You're not thrown into a jail or a prison. A different story. But the question is, do we have a freedom of speech? The answer is no. I don't know where because freedom of speech means unencumbered, unpenalized, free, unfettered, untaxed, unlimited. Say what you want. Say what's on your mind. If you think that for a moment, you are not paying attention. Believe me when I tell you this. You are not paying attention. All right? So our number is 800-848-9222. We'll also do an extension of today's Columbus Day celebration. Sad to say we had a beautiful parade planned, but if you could see this weather in New York right now, it is horrible. This is Lionel, and this is the other side of midnight. Unbelievable. It is just. Anyway, my friends, let's go back at the phones, back at the fun, back to what I call fun. Let's go to a guy named Joe. He's in Pennsylvania, and he is calling, and I have no idea why, but we're soon to find out. Joe, you're on the other side of midnight with Lionel.
I love your program, Lionel.
Thank you, sir.
It's the Gibraltar of radio, a little bit of everything.
Thank you, sir.
I had one question.
Did you say the
Gibraltar?
It's the what of radio? The what?
Gibraltar. Don't you know what that is?
A Gibraltar?
Gibraltar, yeah. On Mondays, you mix everything together from the weekend and you cook it.
Spell that.
I can't.
Okay.
I've been drinking wine all day.
One of those. Okay, very good. Talk to me, sir.
All right. I wanted, my original question was, how do you say lock and load in Latin?
Well, claude et honora or obsigna et instrue, seal and prepare. It doesn't lock and load, cocked and locked, ripped and stripped. It doesn't have the same connotation that lock and load does.
All right, but I'm listening, and you cover so many different things. James Comey, if he's found guilty and if he's convicted, right?
Yes.
G. Gordon Liddy pulled more than 5 years between jail and prison.
Mm-hmm.
Can he have G. Gordon Liddy's cell? G. Gordon Liddy was an FBI agent, a prosecutor, and a high-ranking cabinet member.
Mm-hmm.
Yet he did prison time.
Yes.
In population.
Uh-huh.
He was not a hands-off, this is a special person.
Right.
That's just an idea. I throw it out there.
And a great idea at that, my friend.
Yeah, all right. Now, my third question is, every time I talk to cops now, they have a camera on you.
Yes.
And they're recording everything.
Yes.
They have to. It's policy and procedure, and because of lawsuits and problems. And that makes me very uncomfortable.
Ultimately, it will help you in the long run. Absolutely.
It depends.
Oh, no. No, because let me tell you something. When it first came out, when this first happened, there was the belief that it somehow would impede, that it would make police hold back. In fact, what it's done is it has actually gotten more police officers out of problems, and also has made them act sometimes in a ways that is so incredibly polite and courteous. It actually, I think, has added tremendously to professionalism. And people ultimately, believe it or not, think it's provided some of the best YouTube entertainment of anything I've ever seen. It is just without a doubt.
Yes, I cannot imagine that. Anyway, I just wanted to say thank you. I love your program. It's great.
Thank you, sir.
It's a little bit of everything. And God bless and have a good night.
Thank you, my friend. I appreciate it. Very, very nice of you. No, it's one of those things. I hate to say this. It's one of those things where you ask, in the totality of situation, do you think, by the way, I think sometimes it can be a problem, especially if you're doing undercover work, that's, hey, who knows, it might help. it can be very, very dangerous. But ultimately, it's done a lot to, I think, make things better and safer. Andy in the Bronx. Andy, you're on the other side of midnight with a Lionel.
Oh, hello, Mr. Old Lionel. We
Yes,
love
sir.
your show out here in the Bronx.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
I know your good friend Curtis. I'd like to help him. The subway trains, they're locking the doors in between cars. It's insane. If there was an emergency, there'd be a fire or something, or a maniac in the car, he couldn't get out. Curtis should be all over this like a pit bull in a meat locker. Lionel, you are a fascinating individual. I've heard your show before.
Thank you.
And I just wonder, we've never really had an attorney general, really publicly speaking. We really don't know who they are. We know the district attorneys around the U.S. attorneys around the country, they take the cases, they handle them with all their prosecutors. Do you think she's just put out there because she's a good-looking chick?
Well, I don't know about that, but I think I think President Trump seems to have a certain look, dare I say, that he appeals, or that appeals to him. I think he likes people who are media savvy, or people that he perceives to be media savvy. I think he's also prone to loyalty, people who have done things and helped him out in the past. But one of the things that I think is far more effective is when the Attorney General, it keeps their mouth shut. And I don't even know why the Attorney General is even announcing it. Merrick Garland, as bad as he was, kept his mouth shut. Bill Barr kept his mouth shut. Eric Holder, I mean, you want to let maybe the U.S. attorney for that particular district that was responsible for the, how do I say this, for the indictment or whatever, let them speak, but just to announce it. That's all. Don't go into the levels of guilt. Now, the question is, do you think it's possible today for anybody to actually taint a potential jury today? I don't believe it. Because where are you going to go and not have a potential jury tainted or affected, or to have their ability to, by the way, at 30 past the hour, their ability to act irrespective of this? You know, I got to tell you one thing. One of the things which is the most interesting, you got to ask yourself, are you ever, as a juror, if you've ever been on jury duty before, are you ever so absolutely convinced of guilt, so convinced of guilt that you could not possibly be a juror? That you could say, listen, I'm telling you right now, I don't know how. For example, let's assume somebody is caught on camera shooting somebody. Let's say there's an armed robbery, and there's the assailant. He comes in, he pulls a gun out, and he shoots the clerk, and it's there on camera. And they're going to introduce that. And he's charged with first-degree murder or whatever it was. Let's assume that. Let's also ask the question, well, what are you going to use as a defense? So my question is, did they prove beyond and to the exclusion of every reasonable doubt, beyond moral certainty, that this person committed first-degree murder? I'm looking and say, yes. So my question is, I saw this. Let's say it was on TV. Let's say everybody knew about this ahead of time. Can I possibly act as a juror and say, okay, let me hear your story. Let me hear your side of the story. Now, I could sit as a juror, believe it or not, in the, well, put it this way, theoretically, in the Letitia James case, the James Comey case. I could theoretically find them not guilty, though I would not want to be associated with that for reasons that have nothing to do with my rule as a juror. I would say, you do not want me as a juror. I'm telling you, not that I won't do a good job, but I could not face my peers, my friends, my public, if I in any way was associated with, and I'm sorry to say this, but I'm being honest, in any way associated with ruling for the acquittal of such. There's no way. I'm telling you right now. I'm being honest. Remember, honesty is a tough policy. Now let's talk about something which is very interesting. You know, I was watching the other day with great interest. There is this wonderful show called something Love. It was one of these Wired Q&As. And basically she took everything that Bobby Kennedy said and basically destroyed it or tried to destroy it. He's wrong about mRNA. He's wrong about hepatitis vaccines. He's wrong about seed oils. He's wrong about beef tallow. He's wrong about red dye number 3. I mean, I kept saying, who is funding this woman? Who is every single thing Bobby Kennedy Jr. said? And her name is Love, Andrea Love. I don't hold me to it, but I'll find the name of it. Now, I'm listening to this and I'm paying attention. Now, the other day, Bobby Kennedy said, very interesting. He said, which is kind of interesting, he said that there are two things that are associated with their links in some kind of correlative state regarding autism. One is Tylenol, and the other, which is interesting, is this notion of circumcision. Circumcision. I'm thinking, where did this come from? Now, let me go off. Let me say what you always have to say. I am not a physician. I know nothing about circumcision. I'm not a urologist. I know nothing about that. I know nothing about this. I am a very, very bad, how do I say this? A very, very bad, I guess, kind of a double-parked commenter on this or commentator on this. Well, here's something interesting. When it came to the notion of circumcision, Jerry Nadler accused Bobby Kennedy Jr. of anti-Semitism after Kennedy suggested that autism might be linked to infant circumcision and acetaminophen use. He made the remarks during a cabinet meeting defending a September advisory urging pregnant women to avoid acetaminophen due to possible autism risks, citing confirmation studies claiming that children who are circumcised early have double the rate of autism, attributing this to Tylenol administered post-procedure. Somebody are suggesting that these comments are anti-Semitic and urged bipartisan denunciation. Critics noted that the statements targets a particular practice central to Judaism and Islam. The specific research Kennedy referred to remains unclear. A 2015 Danish study did report a statistical link between early circumcision and autism diagnosis before the age of 10. But experts stress it proves correlation, not causation. Another 1995 paper used circumcision rates as a proxy for acetaminophen exposure. So I listen to this, I'm thinking, now wait a minute. Why is this important? Number one, if you are wrong, you are wrong. But if what you are doing is, if you are showing, just say, aside from being anti-Jewish, anti-Semitic, what about anti-Islam? And how does this break down? And it kind of was said with kind of in passing, because I'm afraid Bobby Kennedy is not, I think he's losing his mojo. I don't think people are listening. I don't want to say this. I think he's got a lot to provide. We were thinking maybe, provided the evidence exists, maybe there was something more forthcoming regarding the role of vaccines in autism. But what about the notion of circumcision? Well, as you know, in religious context, in Judaism, of course, the circumcision is a core ritual, typically done on the 8th day after birth. Islam is a widely practiced, by the way, I cannot pronounce these names, viewed as a religious duty or strongly recommended across most schools of jurisprudence in Islam. In Christian communities, it's not generally required in mainstream Christianity, but some Eastern and Oriental churches, for example, Coptic, Ethiopian, Eritrean Orthodox, maintain the practice culturally or religiously. In other traditions, some indigenous groups in Africa, Australia, Pacific Islands have initiation rites involving circumcision. And in areas that are opposed or neutral, many religions do not practice it, most forms of Hinduism, Sikhism, many branches of Christianity, or consider them elective medically, etc. How common is circumcision? Globally, and I've got various citations, globally, about 38% of males are circumcised. In many Muslim majority countries and in Israel, the practice is nearly universal. In the U.S., estimates vary, but around 70 to 80% of males are circumcised, according to the Cleveland Clinic. For newborns born in the U.S., data show that it's declined over time from 64.5% in 1979 to 58.3% in 2010, according to the CDC. In a recent U.S. hospital-based cohort, about 55% of newborns underwent circumcision. So it's interesting. The prevalence includes adult men who were circumcised earlier in life, plus those circumcised later. The global average is depressed by various populations. But the bottom line is simply this. If I were to tell you that this particular practice is linked to autism, and again, I don't understand, is it the actual snipping, so to speak, itself, the pain medication that follows? How is this linked to autism? I don't understand. Again, I'm not a physician. I'm not an expert. Normally, sometimes there's some kind of a, but is this anti-Semitic or anti-Islamic or anti-religious or anti-anything if this is your belief system? You see, here's what scares me. There is racism, anti-Semitism, Islamophobia. There is transphobia. There's all kinds of phobias and isms in the world that exist, without a doubt. But if you find yourself in the position attributing certain behaviors to that, and it's not true, you are going to be, you're crying wolf. And it's not a good idea. When I tell you the word racism, how do people respond to racism today? Your eyes roll. It's like, oh no, what now? What now? What now? How about transphobia? Okay. What now? How about xenophobia? Here we go. Because what happens is this. Let's say you were to say, for example, I'm against illegal aliens. I'm against illegal immigration. You're a xenophobic. And you think, no, I'm not. I'm against breaking the law. No, you're a xenophobic. You don't understand this. I believe that men should be, how do I say this? I believe that men should not compete in women's sports. Okay, you're a misogynist, you're a transphobe, whatever it is that you are supposedly, they say that's it. You see where we're going with this? I was listening to something the other day. There was a comment. It was a black exhaustion and black fatigue and people getting tired. There's a thing that's happening on X and other particular social media programs where you will see people. There was a black woman in a subway screaming and yelling at the top of her. You've probably seen this about whites and racism and whatever. Now I'm thinking, okay, that's one woman, but it's becoming apparently, at least according to social media review, more and more popular, more and more frequent when we are seeing this. If I were to bring this up, what are you going to say? I'm a racist. Because you got it? So we got Islamophobia, anti-Semitism, racism. You got all these isms. And what it's doing is simply this. It's not, or a conspiracy theorist, or what else did they say? Or un-American, or maybe, okay. Here's the question. How do you tell when the motivation for somebody's thought is what they say it is? How do you tell when the motivation for somebody's thought is indeed not some type of clinical report about circumcision or whatever it is, that it's not anti-Semitic or anti-Islamic? How can you tell when it is and when it isn't? How can you tell? Why have we gotten to this point? Let me tell you what really scares me. In the old days, I noticed it right when, how do I say this? Right when the the term conspiracy theorist kind of came about after, and this is important, after the Kennedy assassination and this one particular document that was revealed. This was a document that was put out by the CIA in order to discourage people from asking questions about the Warren report, so they weaponized the term conspiracy theorist. So what they're doing is this. It was the first time of an organized, centralized, determined administration of something where instead of you being wrong, we went a step further and said you're wrong, but your bias is something else. You're not wrong because you're wrong. You're wrong because you hate or because you're crazy or whatever it is. This is where we are today. This is where we are today. Speech is killed. I don't believe that in 90% of the people who are either anti-Semitic, anti-Islamic, transphobic, whatever, that they're actually transphobic. I think they're making a statement about something and somebody just wants to shut you up and shut you down. And they will use this. Now, that doesn't mean it doesn't exist. Please don't confuse that. Then they also do another thing too, which is interesting. Let's say, for example, let me ask you this. Let's say, Tony or Blaze or somebody, you're out saying something and I get a hold of you and you're saying something completely crazy that I consider to be crazy. I consider it to be wrong, but you're on your own time. You are not in any way involving the name of your job or where you live. You're just making a statement and I don't like it. I don't like it. So what I do is I say, he works here. Tony not only said this, but he works here. And they always say on the internet, make him famous. You see where we're going with this? When does somebody's job affect? When does somebody's speech affect their job? There was a woman who worked for. Did you see her this weekend? She was arrested or something. She threw something. I think she worked for some news. I don't want to misquote it, but she was either in the news business, TV business. She was arrested, and bless her heart, she was on all fours. And I guess, again, bless her heart, I guess during the tussle, her britches may have slid, and bless her heart, it was put it this way, if there was it was the worst case of documented inadvertent plumber's crack I've ever seen in my life. This poor woman, bless her heart, I don't think she meant that to be, but that's the way it was. Anyway, so they're saying she works at this television station, or she's involved, but she wasn't doing this at the time. She was a private citizen. Does that make any sense? Are we violating people? Are we outing them? Are we doxing them? So not only do we not like what you're saying, we don't like the motivation. We're attributing it to some type of transphobia or something else. But we also want to go ahead and contact your employers and say, see what they're saying? See what they're thinking? Does that make sense to you? Now remember, this isn't the government. This isn't the government. See, it's not the thought police that bother me. It's the thought vigilantes. I have a very serious problem with this. What does this have to do with anything? How do I, as somebody who believes in this thing called free speech? That's my thing, right? I've always said this. Free speech. Say whatever you want. Well, say whatever. How is it that I can turn around and say, yes, but I don't like you? You said something terrible about President Trump. You laughed about Charlie Kirk. You laughed not in your official capacity as working for this particular network or this particular station or this university. You didn't say this as a principal, as a professor. You said this separate and distinct on your own time. And you said something which I find reprehensible. Many, many people were laughing at Charlie Kirk and they were happy he had died or whatever it was. You see where we're going with this? And nobody thinks anything of it. They don't think anything of it. But then what they'll do is they say, listen, you don't understand. When I had to suffer because of Trump, I had to suffer because when they had TDS, I was fired. I couldn't go to Thanksgiving. I couldn't go to Christmas. I couldn't go to birthdays. I was told. I was shut down. Paybacks are hell. That's the way it goes. So what I'm saying is, because it happened to me, now it happens to you? Yes. Same thing with Comey and Tish James. Look, I don't like these people. But if they're really, honest to God, charged with the wrong thing, do you think Do you, honest to God, believe that this is something that is worth our effort to shut somebody down? I want you to think about that. What does free speech mean to you? By the way, right now, President Trump arrives in Israel as we speak. This is something right now which was so incredible. Are you watching this? No, don't watch this because you're not going to be listening to me. Two separate changes. I'm looking up at the screens. This is the most incredible thing anybody's ever seen. So, my friends, I've thrown so much at you this morning. So much for you to think about. But that's what life is. So much of what life is, being able to handle multiple topics simultaneously. Who was it? I think it was F. Scott Fitzgerald said, the sign of a superior mind is somebody who can handle two theoretically inconsistent thoughts simultaneously without losing their mind. It's the most incredible thing in the world. All right, my friends, 800-848-9222, 800-848-9222. And again, as we speak, President Trump arrives in Israel right now. Everybody is talking about it, and this must be driving the radical left out of their minds. Because what he has been able to do, this is, no matter how you look at it, no matter what you say, no matter what you think, no matter where you're from, this is considered political and humane triumph. Period. End of discussion. And these sons of guns can't handle it. That Air Force One, that is some big plane there. That was a brilliant observation on my part. You know, it's also wonderful. I'm thinking right now as we speak, they are in Tel Aviv at the, Ben Gurion Airport. It is a monster. And it's also so nice to see the president be able to actually traverse and walk down the stairs. By the way, sad news. Maybe you don't feel this way. I do. I'm a human being. President Biden, according to the news, is not doing very well. He is suffering a variety of maladies, a variety of cancers and the like. And I don't wish that on anyone. You got to understand something about me. And I hope you've noticed this. I don't lose my my core values don't change depending upon who's in charge. I don't say, well, now that Trump's president, I'm going to kind of look the other way until he's back. No. I believe in absolute sanctity, solidity, so to speak, a consistency of this. But I'm looking at this right now and I'm wondering how in the name of God are the Democrats going to play this negatively? What are they going to do? We also see something right now, which is very interesting, to see the reemergence. For a while there, Jared and Ivanka were kind of like, we're kind of pushing the background. I'm not sure we want to have that. Now he's up front and center. Remember, the rules changed. It's all changed. Everything has changed drastically. And what you have to do, if you are truly somebody who's into the politics of what's going on, you must understand something. Politics is about perception. And what are they going to be doing right now? There was a whole cottage industry, by the way. In fact, I am dying today. I'm going to be looking at all of the various YouTube sites and the like, whose sole message seems to be specifically involving Middle East, Israel, Gaza, Palestine. What are you going to say now? What are you going to say now? And right now, when the world is celebrating, we're saying for the longest time, we've been waiting for something actually positive to happen. It's happening right now. And you're not even giving the man or the event, you're paying it short shrift. That's going to be critical. Watch what happens. Watch the dynamics. Let me also tell you something which is even scarier. Because of the fact that they're now running out of changes or out of choices, don't be surprised if they get more brutal and more vicious and more desperate. There is an attempt, my friends, and I'm sorry to say this, and I think you know this, but there is an attempt on the part of these folks to, how do I say this, to change the course and the direction of this. I'm going to be watching today all of MSDNC, CNN, or as much as I can tolerate, to see how they spin this. Because what's happening is that how in the world can you find fault with hostages being released. How can anybody find a problem with that? How can anybody find that to be something of concern, something that's disingenuous? Especially when you see clapping and laughing and celebration everywhere, not only in Israel, but in Palestine or Gaza, whatever you want to call it. This is important. This is critical. My friends, remember something. Think of the political dynamics of this. And also go back to what I was saying. This is the toughest of them all. Do you think the radical left is going to be able to say, Mr. President, we may not agree with you, we may not like you, we may not think what you're doing is at all in any way comports or reflects what the average American thinks, but we thank you today, sir. We thank you for what you're doing. And we celebrate with you and the Israeli community and the citizens of the world, and thank you. Now, as we speak, Trump is standing out there. He is looking triumphant. He's holding a fist up. He's standing at the top of the gangplank or whatever that bridge is, that stepped ladder, and he's walking down. By the way, if I didn't know better, I think this length of his tie is getting even longer, if that's even possible. But he is moving down. He's holding onto the guardrails, as well he should. But he's looking triumphant, strong, hale, hearty, full of vim and vigor, whatever vim is. He's shaking everyone's hands, and he is absolutely triumphant. In Israel, mission accomplished. Remember this moment. Shaking hands with a variety of notables. There is now Bibi. He's meeting with Bibi, shaking his hands, Bibi's wife to his right. This is incredible. And I'm looking at this both on Fox and MSDNC. And let's see what CNN's going to be able to do. They're going crazy with this. They're going to try to pay a short shrift to this. They're going to do everything in their power to just dismiss this somehow and treat it for something other than what it is. This is triumph. This is political gold. I don't care who you are. Think about this. When was the last time that you can remember of anything even remotely appearing to be success? When you know what his next thing is going to pivot? He's going to take care of Ukraine. And I hope when he takes care of Ukraine, he recognizes the fact of the role of NATO. Don't get me started with that. But Ukraine is next. This is what he wants. This is because right now Trump is thinking about the legacy. Trump understands it. At his age, at his development, what he's done, he wants to be Trump, this triumphant, the Caesar. This is what he wants. And so watch today on this miserable, horrible, rainy, terrible nor'easter. Oh my God, this horrible day here in New York City. Our number is, and I want your reactions. What do you believe? What is your take as far as how history will record this? And what do you think the Democrats will use as their strategic ploy to counter this? Because remember, they don't know what to do with this. They, honest to God, don't know what to do with this. They're looking at their arch enemy, looking as Caesar. Our number 800-848-9222. Come on, let's go. Let's talk about this as we watch Trump triumphant in Israel. More coming up on the other side of midnight, so stay tuned. This is incredible. In Israel, watching him speak, this is triumph. And I'm also watching, by the way, I've got the benefit of looking at screens here. I've got Fox on one screen, of course, and then I've got MSDNC. And they don't know what to do. Everybody's clapping. Everybody is thrilled. Let me take a sip of this. This is incredible because what's happening is that, you see, for the longest time, I'm trying to think of when do we ever have an event that appeared to be beneficial, something that was corrected, peace, some cessation of hostilities, ever. Think, when? Not during the Biden administration. Other than now. What is your thought? What is your thought? Because right now I'm thinking, I don't know what the deals made are, but they are incredible to think that everybody's on the same page. Because no matter who you are, no matter what you think, no matter where you're from, you can argue about the history, you can argue about the logistics all you want. That's fine. God bless you. But everybody must be elated over the fact that there actually may be, in fact, peace. Finally, peace. Our number 800-848-9222. Let's go back to the phones. Let's go to Tony in Manhattan. Tony, you're on the other side of midnight with Lionel.
Good morning.
Yes, sir.
This is the best. Super Bowl, Kentucky Derby, anything that happened in the world that takes the attention of everybody is happening in the whole world today. Lionel, this is something that no human being ever happens again. A man that's supposed to be dead twice, fight. Now
Right.
he looks like a champion, like a teenager. This is something that you cannot describe. God is doing something for the whole world in the name of Mr. Trump. This is Tony Melendez, a blind athlete. I compete around the world. And when I was competing, I transformed myself in another. This is the same guy that doing this. I'm telling you, Dino.
Tony, I agree. I thank you so much for your call, and I agree with you. This is a victory lap. You know, this is why people hate politics. Now, let me just say something. I'm going to believe that perhaps maybe there might be some type of I don't know, some type of maybe intellectual or emotional or rational rapprochement. Maybe all of the sides will say, okay, for the time being, let's give Trump his due. But for the worst who were inflicted with TDS, what must they be thinking? Let's go to Kevin on Long Island. Kevin, you're on the other side of midnight with Lionel.
Hey, Mr. Lionel, thank you. Here's the far out one for you. I say they make Trump emperor of the planet and rename the planet United States planet and make everybody stay where they are. And he'll cut the pie up. Nobody's got to migrate here, there, anywhere, and everybody gets an equal slice of the pie. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much. Brilliant, just absolutely concise, limpid, thoroughly fantastic. A wonderful idea. 800-848-9222. I'm not sure what it meant exactly, but what are you going to do? Al in New Jersey. Al, you're next, sir.
Yes, Lionel.
Yes, sir.
Listen, I called a couple weeks ago, if you remember.
I still remember. We are still, in fact,
All
I'm
right,
still
my
talking
first
about it
name is
right
Sal.
now. I was talking with the boys today. I said, remember when Al called a couple weeks ago? And we said, yes.
No, it's not Al, it's Sal.
Okay, Sal, fine.
Well, anyway, now, you just said something very, very important about President Trump.
Yes, sir.
I just got up at this time, around 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning.
Yes, sir.
To put the TV on, because I want to see Donald Trump on TV.
Yes, sir.
Now, well, I have a book of the prophecies, the Bible of the prophecies.
The
This
Bible
book
of the
was-
prophecies, okay?
Yeah, well, it's not in the Bible.
Okay.
But it's a separate book.
Sure.
It's called Bible of the Prophets.
Bible of the prophets, okay?
Yeah, now Christ is one of the prophets. And
Christ is a
going
prophet?
Yes, Christ was one of the prophets. And the reason why I'm calling you, especially even though it's not Easter time, but this takes place 1 week before Easter. Christ is not walking, on a donkey, going into Jerusalem. Here, I'll turn to the page. I have the book here. And
Why don't you paraphrase it where we're going? Tell us what the bottom line is. What does this
All right,
connote?
what this is about, you mentioned the word Trump coming down from the plane on the stairs.
Yes.
Triumphantly
Correct.
coming down.
Yes, sir.
This book has Trump's name in it. It says the triumphal entry of Jesus 1 week before he's crucified. Trump's name is here. You take out the I.
Where is his Trump? Where is his name?
Well, let me explain. Triumphal. How do you spell it? Triumphal.
So if you take out the I and the H and the A and the L, you get Trump.
Yes, and that spells Trump.
And by the way, if you
reason why
use the word
I turned to
trumpet,
this page,
a trumpet,
because
which is the musical instrument, if you lose the
yes,
ET,
but
you get Trump.
Why is that Now, you could take that name out of context,
Sure.
Trump's name, but why is it here in this?
And you could
book
also
of the
take the word
prophets?
strumpet, take away the S and the
But
ENT, and you
that's
get
not
Trump.
what I'm trying to say.
Right.
I'm trying to say it is written here. One of the Pharisees speaks to Christ.
Okay, well,
and
what are
says,
you, Sal, what does this mean?
Well, what it means is 1 week before he's supposed to be crucified, that's Palm Sunday, going into Jerusalem on a donkey.
Okay, I understand.
Now,
You're repeating. What does it mean? Give us the
it means
takeaway.
maybe, and I don't know. No one knows except God. Someone, you know who I'm talking about, on the left side, may want to take another shot.
You got that from reading Christ on a donkey before being crucified. You got that
Well,
out
no,
of what you
because
read?
his name is here. The headline written.
No, I
on
understand
top of the
triumphant,
page.
but out of that word triumphant, and if you excise all of the surplusage, from that one word, you got they might try to take another shot at him?
Yes, because
How did you get that out of the word Trump, which, by the way, is in English? Let me just say something. Let me say this before. Wait. Let me say, hang on a second. Remember, the word Trump or triumphant is the English version or translation. The word Trump was not in the original phrase or whatever it is that you cite, but the interpretation. Okay, so
Yes.
okay.
Yes, but the reason why, because Trump is the only president. You've said it. I agree. I've said it too, and other people, millions of people said Trump is the only president that could have made peace. This is the 8th country he made peace in.
Okay, but how did you? I'm just curious. You said that you presaged, you saw, you augured that in the future there may be another attempt on his life based upon this word that you read.
Yes, not only that word.
How
but
did
there
you?
is-
Okay, all right, thank you. Sometimes I try. At the great Billy Jack Haynes said, I really, not Billy Jack Haynes, Billy Jack Haynes was a wrestler. Billy Jack, remember that from Tom Laughlin? I try. I really, really try. Let's go to August in New Jersey. August, you're on the other side of midnight with Lionel.
You kidding me? I thought he hung up on me. Hello?
Hello?
You can hear me?
Do I fear you?
I don't believe it. I thank you for your show. Thank you for taking my call.
Oh, thank you.
I thought that Matt hung up on me. I mean, I know if that's not me.
Nobody hung up on you, sir.
Whoever it was.
Nobody hung up.
Oh, I just wanted to say thank you.
Thank you,
for
sir.
your program.
Thank you, sir.
And I just have one stupid question. Please could you answer? I don't know if it's
yes, sir.
been answered already about Israel.
Okay.
Does Israel have nuclear capability?
I do not know, sir. There are some who suggest that the weight of historical, technical, and intelligence evidence strongly supports that conclusion, but I don't know personally. What do you think?
They have nuclear missiles and stuff.
What do you think, sir?
I thought for maybe the last 20 years.
Okay.
I'm sorry about the sound of my voice. I'm getting older, you know.
That's quite all right.
Listen, I'm glad I got you on the phone. I thought he hung up on me about a half hour.
August, I will never hang up on you, sir. Thank you so much for calling. I have no idea what that was about, but that's that. Our number 800-848-9222. Right now, President Trump to meet with hostage families in Jerusalem. The triumphant, the groups, the mobs, the throngs, the passels of humanity celebrating his name. This is incredible. And I don't want to keep relegating this. I don't want to reduce this to, I don't know what the word is, some kind of always political. But they're at Freed Square right now in Tel Aviv. In fact, right now, according to MSNBC, the IDF says that the Red Cross is en route to southern Gaza to receive the second group of hostages. Is there anybody who can find fault with this? Anybody anywhere that you think can find fault with this? It's incredible. It's just an incredible story. You know, we have been through a lot with this man. And like I said, we have been through a lot. We have sometimes had to argue. It's like, well, were the tariffs good? Well, yeah. I don't think they're good. Well, I think they're good. What about this? Well, what about the tax cuts? Well, yeah. What about this move? Well, you know, I don't know what. This is a no-brainer. This is a no-brainer. No matter how you look at it, no matter how you phrase it, no matter how you direct it, no matter how, whatever it is that you do to reconstruct, redirect, refocus, or reframe the issue. This is all being done specifically by virtue of what President Trump did. It's that simple. And so remember, during the day today, what does he do? What does he do? He's going to speak, I believe, before either the Knesset. I think he's then going to Egypt to sign this. What did Biden do? Biden couldn't speak. Remember when Biden was there with Georgia Maloney, when she had to help him as he was walking off? Remember this. Remember how they lied to you. Remember how they lied to you. Look at this man. He came down the stairs and they're saying, look at him. His ankles are swollen. Look at him. He's got a bandage on his hand. Look at him. He's doing great. I think about this. They talked about a little swelling in his ankle. He's almost 80 years old. And they made a big deal out of it when Biden was walking around yelling, who ordered the veal cutlet? Had no idea, completely incontinent, out of his mind, totally gone. I despise these people. I mean, I swear to you, I despise these people. What is it do you think that they want? Let's go to Brandon in Iowa, listening to us on KMOX. Brandon, you're on the other side of midnight with Lionel.
Well, good evening, Lionel. How are you this fine Monday morning?
Good, sir. Good, sir.
You know, I've been listening to you clear back in the days when I was living in Wyoming and I could pick up WOAI out of San Antonio.
Wow.
And you had a show in the evening back in like the 90s, and you had a really catchy theme song that opened up your show.
Still do.
Yes, you do. It is. It's, you know, and I'm glad you're doing the show. I was like, man, where's Lionel? I haven't heard him for a while. Then I found a couple of stations at KMOX.
By the way, Brandon, would you do me a favor? I want to make sure you are able to speak without interruption. I must put you on hold for 1 second. Our number is 800-848-9222. It is upon this particular point where I must remind you that this is indeed Lionel, and the name of this show is called The Other Side of Midnight. I'm watching also live. You know who's got some great coverage is Al Jazeera. Al Jazeera is fantastic. Because I'm telling you, if you sometimes want to find out what's happening in the world, you have to go to that part of the world. Now, our good friend Brandon from Iowa, KMOX country, was listening. And Tom, yes. Brandon, thank you for listening. Proceed, sir.
Oh, yes. And by the way, as you played that song coming back from the break, I was literally waving the phone in the air to the beat of the music. So, hey, keep that coming. All right. So,
you sound like a disc jockey. Don't you sound like an old jock? I'll tell you what, I'm waving with this coming at you right now. It ain't after the hour. I'm waving my phone I put my arms in the air like I don't care, everybody.
You know, I flew into the room and boy, are my arms tired.
You are funny. Be here all week. Try the veal.
Yeah, exactly. But, Lionel, I think, yes, it's going to be an uphill battle, I think, because I think, Hamas is, I don't know that they may be cooperating now, but we all know back and forth how it can go.
We shall see.
I think Trump's got it in the bag.
We shall see. Right.
We shall see. I think Trump's going to, but Trump is very persistent. He's not going to give up. He doesn't have any quit in him. He's just continuing to do what he does best. And
how do you think the left is going to spin this?
Oh, I think they're going to spin it as that he's being authoritarian. I think they're going to spin it that he's
hostages,
he's just
reunited. Wait a minute. Hostages reunited.
Yeah.
Celebration in the street. People crying, kissing him. Thank you. Being authoritarian. That's great then. If that's what you're saying. I don't know how they spin it.
It's very difficult. But then again, this is why we also listen to you, Lionel, because as I've said, listening to your show before, you've always been that. Listen, if there's always more than one side and one perspective to look at for this entire issue.
You know what's also interesting? I'm looking at Lutnick. I'm looking at Jared Kushner, but I don't see Marco Rubio anywhere to be found. There's a
no.
Isn't that weird? The Secretary of State.
You would think Rubio would be there, Lionel.
Yeah.
But that's kind of to coin a phrase that I used to use with everybody in school. The fact that Rubio's not there is a little preposterous in my book.
Well, it's at least it causes an eyebrow to be raised. But either way, and also for the longest time, people and Jared Kushner was getting a lot of grief because they said he and Ivanka, I don't know if they were, he kind of was lurking about. Well, guess what? He's front and center.
Yep, he is. He's front and center, and he's right up there. But where's Rubio in this? And that's, I think, the question that a lot of people are asking. A lot of heads have been. A couple of my friends online said the exact same thing. They're like, Brandon, where's Rubio? And I said, I wish I knew because I haven't seen him at the front and center of this like you would expect. So I guess time's only going to tell, Lionel.
Now the next thing is he's going to be pivoting towards Putin because remember the First Lady this weekend already contacted him and communicated with Putin regarding prisoner exchange or prisoner reliefs or whatever. And Putin said, fine, I'll do it.
Mm-hmm.
This Tomahawk missile thing is not going to be important. That's not going to be critical because Putin even said, Tomahawk missiles doesn't really matter. Trump loves to do one thing. He loves to start off hard and then renegotiate or negotiate down. He'll start off threatening to sue you and then work on dropping the suit. So he comes in
really
hot.
Tell you what, I wonder what playing Monopoly against him would be like. You'd start off, and then, if I could buy Park Place from you, and maybe get Boardwalk, then I might, have a fighting chance that he still comes out victorious.
Brandon, I thank you so much, my friend. You're a fine, fine man. Brian in Bayside, you're on the other side of midnight with Lionel.
Hey, good morning, Mr. Lionel.
Yes, sir.
I see you're a lover of the 800 different scales of craziness that are out there.
Yes.
As far as the gentleman, if you take away the P and the pi sign, and dude, I had so much enjoyment listening to that. Thank you, Mr. Lionel.
I don't want to mock people unless it's entertaining.
No, definitely not. But you got to be careful, though.
Indeed,
all of a sudden, they take away enough of things, and then all of a sudden it says, I have to grab Daddy's Luger and go visit the people at the supermarket.
Right, there you go.
You got to be careful.
That's true.
But again, there are 800 different scales of autism. There are 800 different scales of craziness.
Indeed, sir. And what scale are you, sir?
Oh God, I'm right on the edge there, buddy.
Talk to me, sir.
No, but as far as the hostages that are supposed to come out today, I pray I'm wrong, but how much I'm thinking with these people, maybe 5 or 6 of them are going to be upright, and the rest of them are going to be in bags and.
Oh, I don't know. I think right now, as we speak, the Red Cross is en route to southern Gaza to receive the second group. They're going to be checking everybody. I think that before they did this, they would have had an idea of who was ambulatory. They better be in good shape. That's all I'm going to say. In fact, if there was anybody that needed to be taken care of, it would be this particular group. It would behoove no one.
I hope you're right.
Because I would also like to see somebody, but what we will see. The bottom line is simply this. Remember, this is an immediate story. This is business as usual. Now, what happens between Israel and Palestine after this? You know what? You're on your own. Good luck. We'll work with you. The immediate thing was to stop this crisis. For you to suggest that there is going to be some kind of smooth sailing, the president cannot be expected to bring everything about. But let's just take one success incrementally. Don't worry about the future right now at 30 past the hour. Don't worry about what's going on, but just think about how incredible this is and how this is going to affect his legacy. Remember, Putin is next. He wants to end this Ukraine thing, and that means cutting ties with NATO and the EU, which I cannot wait for, personally speaking. Now, if only he could do anything regarding this three-way race in New York City, I think something tells me he might be able to do so. One never knows. Tom of the Bronx, you're on the other side of midnight with Lionel.
Lionel, how are you? I was
Good,
listening to you earlier tonight, and it struck a chord with me. We were talking about the importance of grandparents. I think Rudyard Kipling said God couldn't be everywhere, so he made mothers, and they changed it to grandmothers. And in the Russian culture, they're called the babushka.
Right.
She, during those years when they persecuted religion, Lenin, 1917, I couldn't believe it. I was just reading, he killed, murdered, or executed 100,000 clerics and put the others in the work camps and burned 60,000 churches. But the grandmothers, through their stories and prayers, kept religion alive, and it's what got them through. But the other thing I wanted to say, I'm also of Sicilian extraction, and they do have their own dialect. Bella becomes Biedu.
Right.
The family becomes Figio Mia instead of Figlio.
No, Figio becomes son. No, that's Figio is son versus Filio. Family is a different story. Figio mio is...
okay, that's brother of mine. But here's a little poem.
It's son.
Me this.
Son is Filio, and Figio comes out... Right, there's all kinds of... Anyway, go ahead, sir.
My father told me a phrase, I never forgot it. He says, the four things you need in life: acqua fresca, vino pura, fica strezza, gazza dura. The first two parts are nice. It's fresh. It's a toast.
Right.
Fresh water and pure wine.
Right.
And then the second one has to do with a woman's genitals being tight.
Oh, there you
and
go.
A man's genitals being firm.
There you go. Your father must have been a real... He must have been great around children's birthdays.
He was a handsome guy. He looked like Cesar Romero.
Did you ever have some of the famous words I love? Did you ever have the squash, the gugutza?
Gugutz.
But you have the truncation like gugutz, mozzarella.
Gugutz.
You drop it.
Toy. She's Neapolitan.
Right, you drop it. But to me, I love the word gugutza. It's just fun to say this. There's this. It's. If you slow it down,
people gugutz. He's a real gugutz.
But I like the whole word gugutza. I like that last little bit. One of my favorite words is for and this is in Roman for mosquito is zanzara. I just think it's beautiful. You can say it. There's some words, some sounds I love. I love the sound of Portuguese or Brazilian. I love the sound of some French sometimes because I cannot do any French whatsoever. But when I hear Sicilian, it's and depending upon where, anyways, different story. 800-848-9222. Come on, give me an idea. Where do you think the left is going? Right now, I'm looking up towards the right. I have this. This is the only time I get to see what's going on. As you know, in New York City, we have still 3 people running for mayor. Curtis Lewa, Governor Cuomo, or ex-Governor Cuomo, Andrew Cuomo, and Zoran Mamdani. And I'm thinking, Mr. President, what do we need to do with this? And remember, whenever you talk about this, people have a very difficult time in understanding this. Where do you see this going on this terribly horrible, rainy Monday day? Do you see somebody coming up to Curtis eventually and saying, Curtis, it's time to think about something bigger than you? I'm just saying this now. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. Please don't get mad at me. Don't get mad. People go berserk. But I need somebody who say, you know, Curtis, there comes a time when you have to think about the big picture, doing what's best for the city. And you know, that might be one of these times right now, Curtis. You know, it might be one of those times right now to sit back and say, you know what, not because you're not worthy, not because you're not good, not because you have done anything but celebrated and earned the respect and the love of the great people of this great city. However, the numbers and the demographics don't work out. Do you see that as happening? Do you see this ultimately going into a three-way race? Do you think, ultimately speaking, and do you ever see in the event that Mamdani, God forbid, were to win, just saying that is hard enough. Do you see somebody turning around and saying, you know what? That might not have happened were it not for Curtis Lewa. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. Please don't. I'm just a man of possibilities. I look at all the permutations and I ask you, what do you think is available? While we go on that subject, I must tell you this. If we don't do something right now to change the way people think, if we don't go in and change, because remember, there's Democrats who represent the biggest group, but the second biggest group of voters in New York City are those people who are undecided, unaffiliated, people who are unconnected, disconnected to everything and anything. Those are the ones I really look to. Those are the ones who we need to talk to. How do we do this? How do we go on and change people? See, I want to be the change agent. I want to go on and change the philosophy. I want there to be groups of people who hear about a new form of thinking. Because what I am, and what I think most people have to understand, is that we are not in a position where we are a part of this, I know this is hard, difficult, tough to say, but I'm not a Republican. I'm looking at this from the point of view of, as a New Yorker, as an American citizen. What's best for all of us? 800-848-9222. Right now, President Trump arrives in Israel as remaining hostages are being released. And the MSDNCs, I think it's that Katie Turd, or what's her name? I forget who. In Khan Yunis, I never thought we'd be seeing this. Awaiting the release of 13 more. They'll be reviewed and looked at and checked by the Red Cross. Trump, remember, and Hamas went along with this. My God, this changes the dynamic. 800-848-9222. Ladies and germs, let's go back to the phones. Back to the phones. Let's go to Jeffrey. Jeffrey in Queens. Jeffrey, you're on the other side of midnight.
Lionel.
Yes, sir.
First of all, this is amazing. I called 2 minutes till I'm on the air. That's never happened, ever. It will never happen again, but that's amazing.
What did you say in English again, sir? I'm sorry.
Jeffrey in Queens.
Yeah, what about Jeffrey in Queens? What did you first say before you... 2 minutes, so you did what?
I said I've never gotten on the air so quickly. It's unbelievable.
Well, good. It's a good shot.
Sure, why not? The issue of Curtis dropping out, I heard the idea that he could be, if he could accept a high level appointment in the administration, I think that wouldn't be such a shameless thing to do. It would be he could be proud, take that position, and do the right thing, because it's a numbers game. If you look at the numbers, if his numbers are lower, whoever has the lower numbers should drop out and accept a high position in the new administration.
Jeffrey, you have been able to conquer this rather intricate psephological calculus. You realize this right away, do you not? Let me see if I get this straight. The person with the lower numbers should step out and transfer those numbers to the person with the higher numbers.
As has been said many times on the air by everybody,
Absolutely, critically. Not only that, poignant, critical, novel. Now, here's the next question.
Okay.
What if Cuomo, an astute politician, were to say to himself, let's say he were to win, and he says, there's no way I want Curtis anywhere near me. This guy hates my guts. He's going to outshine me, outmaneuver me. I'm never going to get any... Do I want somebody who is my political superior working as my underling? Can I turn my back on him? What would you say to that, oh wise one?
That's a very difficult question, I agree. Let me say something else before you hang up on me, sir. Pasta Fazool. You're going to love this one, okay? I'm 68. Lenny Bruce was around before I was really aware, but I heard that in the 70s, I heard tapes of his. He was making some joke about Pasta Fazool. I'm sure you can give that context, and then I'll say to you, fast forward 50 years later, I've cooked my whole life. I've just now begun to integrate beans with pasta. It's fantastic.
Now,
it's Pasta Fazool.
What do you think the word fazool? What do you think the actual phrase is? There's no Fazul. It doesn't exist.
Okay. Right. I'm not saying. I'm riffing off of the Lenny Bruce pronunciation.
I understand you're doing that. But what do you think? What do you think the actual word is?
I've seen it once or twice, but I don't know Italian. But it's an Italian word. I understand.
No. But it's fagioli is the actual word. How did they get
fagioli.
Fazul out of that?
Right. I was doing the Lenny Bruce.
All right, this is going nowhere. Thank you so much, Jeffrey. You know what? Years ago, there was a great story, a great. I worked with a good egg, true story. And you might remember this. I'm not going to mention his name, but he's a good egg. And one day he was on. It was Al D'Amato. This is a true story. So forgive me for telling you this story. Al D'Amato, I think his mother, Antoinette, I believe, wrote a book, something about her cooking. So this fellow was on, and he thought he would riff with Al D'Amato. And he said, "Hey, Senator, what's the chance of your mother? What was it? What is true story? This is an actual story. Now that you may think so, but I could the word culo. I'm sorry, I don't want to break it down to you, but there's nobody to tell the story. This was radio history. This was radio history. And it was one of those, and the best part was hearing D'Amato say, and it was one of those, oh my. Now, I don't want to go into the derivation of that, by the way, but I would argue that there is nothing that in order for you to tell the pun, you must express it. But anyway, that's either here or there. 800-848-9222. 800-848-9222. 7 freed hostages now back in Israel. I'm looking right now at MSDNC, this Katie Tur. They're wondering. They're trying. I can't really read because I'm trying to read the through the lines. They can't. How do I say this? They don't know what to make out of this. They're talking. What about the ceasefire? What about the West Bank? What's going on? What about it's like they're trying to find something wrong with this. Let me also say something. And this is what I'm going to be watching today. If your sole focus has been and I'm not saying it's incorrect, but as a critic of, how do I say this? If it's, I'm hearing this tone somewhere. And I know this sounds crazy, but I hear in the back of my mind, I keep hearing this like a bong, boom. It's the weirdest thing. I think I'm hallucinating. Maybe it's the hours. I have no idea. But if your whole thing has been as a critic of the Middle East, a critic of Israel, a critic of what's been going on, a critic, if that has been your thing, and I'm not arguing whether that's right or wrong, I'm just telling you if that has been the particular selection of the focus of the trajectory of your analysis. What are you saying today? How can you say, yeah, maybe there was a release of hostages. Maybe there's peace. But so what? That's what I'm going to be watching today. And then tomorrow I'll give you a kind of a review of this. Because that's one of these things. In the world of online stuff, there are people who are known for just being critics of Israel. And that, again, if that's your thing, that's fine. And sometimes it's okay, sometimes it's not, sometimes it makes sense. But today, you would think somebody would say everybody should be just holding up this laudable event and some simultaneous exclamation of faith. Bob, in Connecticut, you're on the other side of midnight with Lionel.
Good morning, Lionel. How you doing?
Good, sir.
I just called to mention Alex Jones had a caller a couple weeks back, and Alex Jones messaged you and spoke very highly of you. He knew right where you were, what time your show was on, and mentioned that he's going to try and get you on his show. So I just wanted to let you know.
I'm going to get him on my show, too. He is still, no matter what anybody says, no matter where you're from, absolutely changed the direction of spoken word, broadcasting, news, whatever you want to call it. Nobody. What they're doing today right now are spin-offs of him. Absolutely.
Lionel,
I'm sorry?
I'm 71 years old. I've been listening to Alex since he was on shortwave radio.
Do you know what he has? I can go through this repeatedly. There was a time when he said one time that certain applications of, I forget what it was, can make, he said, make frogs gay, but he meant actually change the sex of frogs.
It's atrazine.
Right. So anyway,
there was a Berkeley study on it. Yeah, he was proven right.
So anyway, exactly. So when they heard this, they go, oh, there he goes again, making up this gay frog. Right, gay. And they said, but it's true. But they couldn't take it. Then one time he said in 1995, no, I don't even remember when, he said there was the first time I ever heard of cable boxes listening to you.
You're right. You're right.
And people said, oh, you have got to be kidding. 100% correct. Talked about globalism before anybody talked about that. Talked about Bilderberg. Remember with Jim Tucker or Jim, not Jim Guy Tucker, but Jim Tucker.
Yeah, he wore the hat. Yeah,
right.
I know who you're talking about. Yep.
They talked about Bilderberg before anybody did it. Nobody knew what he was talking about. Time after time after time, and they just didn't get it. And then all of a sudden, now that Charlie Sheen is, everybody wants to talk about Charlie Sheen. Where did Charlie Sheen go on and really do his most damage? With him. Everybody, sure. So let me just tell you something. In this country, I swear to you, the number of people who get a pass because they've never said anything controversial is amazing to me. But I don't care if somebody's controversial. Have you said something that is proven to be true? And I will never apologize for that. Never. You know who's also
say whatever you want except for the truth.
You know who's also very good too is Roger Stone has him on. He recognizes it. You see, I'm glad just for a second. There's a whole group of people out there. There's a whole other world. What if I told you, well, there's AM, there's FM, but there's GM. What? A whole other frequencies like I didn't even know it existed. I've talked.
Yeah, but you're one of them, Lionel.
Well, I remember right after 9/11, he talked about geoengineering. He talked about 9/11. He talked about stuff. And here's the thing. I got to tell you this one story. I don't know, who knows. But it might, or maybe, no, it was 2000. There was in fact, it happened to be right next to where we are right now. There was a Talkers Magazine conference. A Talkers conference. And Talkers Magazine was the Bible, and to an extent still is, of talk radio. Okay. So I said...
he did a big expose on China. Yeah.
Right, so I said, I want to introduce him. So I talked to the publisher at the time. I said, I want to introduce Alex Jones. I do. So he said, okay. So I walked into the room, first time I ever met him, and I said, I'm Lionel, and I'm going to take care of you. And he looked at me like, can I trust you? I said, yes. We walked out to... Now get this. All of these talk radio people, most of them are not even in business today. They weren't even paying attention. They didn't even know what the word podcast was. I can't explain what podcasting was because they were so entrenched in this kind of old. So anyway, I said, I want you to remember one thing. Everything he says, if there's not a story or a paper or something that he can refer to, he doesn't talk about it. And as you know, that camera, if you've ever seen him, there's a camera that looks down and he shows you the article, shows you the source. Doesn't just make it up. Just says, this is
document cam, please.
Yes, exactly. So I'm glad you mentioned it. He is, again, we're going to get him on this show because he is.
He speaks very highly.
Well, I speak very highly of him. I still think he's one of the best. Hey, listen, Bob, thank you, my friend. I'm sorry.
What about the lawfare they brought on him?
Horrible. And let's see what's happening right now. Well, look, they did it to him. They did it to Mike Lindell, and they're doing it to others. And by the way, to show you how consistent I am, I want to make sure that whatever you think of Comey or Letitia James or even Luigi Mangione, I do not want to charge any of them with something they didn't commit. No matter how much I dislike them, no matter how politically antithetical they are to me, I'm not going to do to them what they've done to others as well. Let me tell you something.
Keep it to the letter of the law.
Do you remember in the old days prior to Alex? There were people like Bob Grant. There were people before that, Joe Pine. People who were absolutely instrumental. Art Bell.
Cooper. Yeah, Bill Cooper.
Bill Cooper. Oh, Pale Horse. Absolutely. And the thing is so funny. We know about them. They are so much a part of our lives. But yes, to 99% of the people in this country, they have no idea who they are. Hey, listen, Bob. Thank you, my friend.
Have a good morning, sir.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate that immensely. I'll tell you what, let's take a brief interruption. 800-848-9222. 800-848-9222. More coming up as the president is preparing to address the Israeli parliament on this day. Mark this date down, irrespective of your politics, your left, right, whatever particular designation you consider yourself. This is a day when humanity wins. 848-9222. 7 freed hostages now in Israel as President Trump arrives. Trump is now in Israel with hostage release underway. 7 hostages released so far as this develops. And it's funny to watch MSDNC cover it because you think to yourself, wow, they must be hating this. Mike in St. James. Mike, you're on the other side of midnight with Lionel.
Lionel, the way the mayor campaign is going now, both Cuomo and Curtis are going to lose. If Lionel can go to Curtis and offer him a big job in the administration, such as police commissioner, with a huge salary, and give him carte blanche for 1 year, and tell him if you outshine me too much, I'll fire you.
You want me to do this, or you want Cuomo to do this?
Cuomo. Somebody's got to get to him, though, and explain they're both going to lose the way it's going now.
Do you think Curtis does not know that?
Well, he won't admit that he's losing, though.
Do you think Curtis knows that if he were to step down, that, and I'm sure there have been many, many overtures, many, many deals, but I'm sure somebody had to have made something. But I think he knows that. But the question is, why do you think, and I'm not suggesting this is true, but if Curtis sees the numbers being such and he holds out because he just can't do it, is that selfish or is that just the way politics are in this country?
I don't know, but if they could make some agreement, they'll both be in power.
I thank you, my friend. Thank you so much for that. Dorothy in Clifton. Dorothy, you're on the other side of midnight with Lionel.
Hi, good morning, Lionel.
Yes.
Happy Columbus Day.
Yes, I wish it was a better weather, but yes, thank you.
Question. I'm a big Curtis fan, and I was one of those ones just he's going to win, he's going to win, he's going to win, but unfortunately, it doesn't look like it. But he's raised all this money. Mm-hmm. What happens if he drops out? What happens to all this money? Does he have to give it back? Does it go into coffers? Does he donate it? What happens to it?
You know, I am not an expert in this. I wouldn't even venture a guess, but I would imagine they can be redirected towards either. Well, he's a Republican. I know how we would. I guess he would be able to release this upon notification or review. I don't know. Or can he just pocket it? I don't know. Can it roll over into a future run for something? I don't know. But either way, the bottom line is simply this. All of us, I think, are committed to one fact, that Mamdani cannot win. I mean, not that he cannot win, but we cannot allow him to win. That if he were to win, if he were to, just saying that is so antithetical, so corrosive to the way we think. I can't even imagine that. So everything and anything that can be done to prevent that. And there are a lot of folks who are telling me, they said, you know what, I would have never voted for Cuomo under any circumstance. But if he is the only way to stop Mamdani, he will have to do. Because at least
New York have like.
I'm sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
No, please go ahead.
Does New York have like a recall? I mean, Mondavi gets in and starts destroying his city. Is it possible to recall him?
The same people who voted him in, you would need to recall him. And I think they would probably say, no, we like this. Remember, it's a de minimis number. But let me also remind you that the second most powerful group of people are the uncommitted, non-committed, the people who really don't have any particular ideology one way or the other. That's another story. Our number 800-848-9222 on this miserable, horrible, terrible, rainy, nor'easter Columbus Day. But the fact that you're here makes it all the better. More coming up. The final hour on the other side of midnight with Lionel. Stay tuned. There is a group of people milling about, wearing uniforms and the like, some type of guard. And every now and then in the group, there's somebody wearing a mask, a COVID mask. I cannot tell you how, for reasons I shan't be able to explain, why it drives me nuts when I see somebody wearing a mask, despite what is happening right now. Anyway, what we're seeing right now, this is absolute, positive, this is history. And irrespective of what you think of the president, or what you thought about Israel or Bibi or Palestine or whoever, it doesn't really matter. This is incredible. And my question is, why are there Israelis walking around wearing masks? Do they know something we don't know? But I'm belaboring the point. This is just, I know I shouldn't. I know this is radio and you're not watching this, but savor this moment. Because two things you got to watch today. See what the other people say. See what they say about this. See how they respond. But also see what the spin of the left is. This is a day of triumph for this president. Donald Trump, flawed, sometimes mercurial, sometimes a bit schizoid, sometimes schizoaffective, sometimes very Trumpian, will go down in history as the greatest president of my lifetime. There is nobody who had the effect at so many levels, who so affected, so changed, so energized, so depleted, so enraged, so many people at one time. There is nothing like him. Period. End of discussion. Let's go right now to Harvey in upstate New York. Harvey, you're on the other side of midnight with Lionel.
Good morning. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. First of all, I'm talking about the prisoner exchange or the hostage exchange.
Yes, sir.
First of all, I want to say that if it involved me personally, I would be so much for it. But as Sid Rosenberg said, that it's the worst thing to happen, because I know and you know that the Hamas or Palestinians or whatever are going to repeat what they've done. And they know that
this is the worst thing that can happen.
What's that?
You're saying this is the worst thing that can happen?
Yes, because they know
hostage release is the worst.
They know that what?
You're saying hostage release is the worst thing that could happen?
No, not that. It's just that the Palestinian Hamas know that this is a tool that they could use over and over again.
What is a tool?
That they could get what they want from us or NATO or whatever.
What is a tool?
The tool?
What?
Talking.
You're saying, let me try to work through this. You're saying that that Hamas or the Palestinians, whoever, they know that this is a tool. What is a tool? What?
Well, I missed. I said something I shouldn't have, but it's not a tool, and in fact, it's a way of them getting what they want.
How did they get what they want? What are we talking about here? Are you happy there is a hostage release today? Do you agree with that?
No. Of course I'm happy.
Okay. So what is the
I'm
point of this?
ecstatic
So what is the point of this?
that they're going to be doing something like this
So
over and over
what
again.
do we do to prevent this from happening over and over again?
Don't give in to their
How are
demands
you
and-
How are you giving in? Nobody's giving. How are we going to have people released? How are we going to free hostages unless there's some type of give and take, a bargain, a deal, some compromise? What do you suggest?
that sadly we don't give in, and
what does it mean to give in?
Destroy them.
You want to destroy them?
Hamas.
You want to destroy Hamas?
Yes.
And that's we're not going to have any more further hostage release or taken once Hamas is, quote, destroyed.
Well, they're going to think twice about it.
Okay, all right. I'm sure he's a nice man. I'm sure this is a nice man. But you see what happens when you, I'm sure he's a nice man. Rich, let's go to Rich in New Jersey. Rich, you're on the other side of midnight with Lionel.
Hey, Lionel, I hate to change the subject a little bit, but George Clooney's taking his family and kids to France. Is that child abuse?
Taking him permanently?
I think so.
Do you know this story? You're calling?
I heard it on the news. Yeah, and another celebrity I want to mention.
Stop for a second. Why is this? What is the joke? This is child abuse. What about the fact that children live with him now or whatever? Isn't that child abuse?
I'm being facetious because is it better in France than it is here?
This was an attempt at a joke, humor.
I guess so.
Okay.
One more thing.
Yeah.
The first VHS tape I ever bought was "Swimming to Cambodia" by Spalding Gray.
Mm-hmm.
I understand he killed himself. Did you know him or anything about him?
I did not know him. I think his body. I think he was. I think he. I don't know the story. I think it was suspected of such. By the way, thank you for this call. I think the word scintillating comes to mind. Carl in New Jersey. You're on the other side of midnight with Lionel.
Hi, it's just a cool grandpa thing.
Who?
What
did you say?
It's just another cool grandpa.
Who's just another cool grandpa?
My grandpa.
Okay. All right.
He came over from Poland.
Uh-huh.
Got a job in the coal mines in Pennsylvania.
Wow.
He didn't like that too much.
I can imagine. Yeah.
Yeah. Somehow he gets out of that, gets himself to Cleveland, Ohio somehow. Is just on the street, but he becomes a successful general contractor. I don't know if this must have been, I don't know how it worked in against World War I, but he went back to Poland to get my grandmother, brought her back, and then they had kids, and I think they were cool people. They adopted my Uncle Milton's friend, Ben Madow, who was a Jewish kid, and he was an orphan.
I'll tell you what, it sounds like a fascinating story, and it goes to show you, as we discussed the first hour, people who were our relatives and people that we loved, and our grandparents, and legacy of our grandparents and the like, and that, in case you're tuning in right now, that's the reference point of this. And I thank you for that. Lou on Long Island. Lou, you're next.
Yes, Lionel. How can you laud Alex Jones that deemed a Sandy Hook as a hoax? The biggest travesty in all media. I mean,
that's the biggest travesty in all. That is the biggest travesty. That
yes, he labeled it a hoax.
No. You're saying that. No. You said that was.
A hoax.
Hang on, you're missing the point. You're not listening to me. You said that was the biggest travesty in media history.
Well, I might reel that back a bit, but it's up there.
Okay, and what
Do
should happen?
do you agree that he was wrong in saying Sandy Hook was a hoax?
Well, I've heard his explanations of that, and I think it's kind of moot at this point, but let me explain something to you. Before Sandy
yes or
Hook,
no question.
Well, before Sandy Hook, though, Alex Jones had already built one of the most influential independent media platforms in this country. And this is a guy who, by the way, predicted or exposed major trends nobody else did. From surveillance
you
states.
You are skirting Lionel, you are skirting the question.
I think he said later on.
Was he wrong in saying that Sandy Hook was a hoax?
Well, I
say
believe
yes or no.
Well,
it's not a gotcha question.
No. I think anybody who said that it was a hoax or didn't occur is incorrect. I think that's
wrong.
moot. No, but that's moot. That's not the issue, because he wasn't merely
moot.
No, because you're not listening to what I'm saying. You're not listening. You're not listening. You're not listening to what you're not listening to. You're not listening to what I'm saying. He wasn't merely fined for defamation. He was financially executed for this. The verdict wasn't about justice for grieving families. It was about deterrence. The message was clear. Step too far outside the accepted boundaries of speech, and you'll be obliterated. Nobody's saying that he shouldn't be sued or that he shouldn't be fined. That's not the issue. Nobody's above the law. But his case became the state's warning to every loud dissident broadcaster or podcaster or journalist who might dare question the official narratives. Do you know how many people in our country have questioned whether something occurred? Do you know the number of people who have questioned, I don't know whether this is right or wrong, whether we landed on the moon or whether the facts of Vietnam were as is? Are you suggesting, Lou, that you can't, if you have a problem with something, if you don't believe something occurred, let's say you're just erroneous, you can't say that? Is that what you're saying?
I am saying the pain that he put on those families.
Let me try this again. If you don't believe something happened, if you don't believe, let's say, that President Trump committed a crime or that whatever, if you don't believe this, if you don't believe we landed on the moon, if you don't believe in the cause of the let's say the impetus of the Vietnam War, what happens if somebody comes and says, "Do you know, Lou, the pain you've caused me by denying something, by exercising your right?" Now, I'm just saying, do you understand how dangerous that is for you to tell people, if you challenge an official narrative and you're sued, that's fine. But you could be sued for billions of dollars? Billions of dollars, Lou? Come on. Billions of dollars, Lou? Billions? Nobody gets...
You're just
I'm not obfuscating anything. Pharmaceutical companies do billions of dollars. Talc, cancer-causing agents. This guy was charged billions of dollars. Can you separate the error with the amount of the punitive nature of the damages? Yes. Billions of dollars?
No. You obfuscate again.
I'm trying again. It's obfuscation. Are you suggesting, yes or no, that you'd like to say, that what he did was worth billions with a B, billions of dollars? Seriously?
I don't agree that the monetary amount was correct, but he did cause pain by calling.
I think what happened was, and if you recall correctly, there was a default. The case involved him, if I recall correctly, and I'm not an expert in this, but I believe he was not entitled. How do I say this? He was not entitled. I think it was by default. Something happened. The judge ruled that I think they sanctioned him, or he didn't answer something in time. Anyway, it came down merely to damages. There was no addressing the substantive issues of the case. I want to discuss more of this coming up. This goes back to my free speech thing, which is very critical. But I thank you for your call. I want to continue more of this. This is Lionel, and this is The Other Side of Midnight. You know, when talk about Alex Jones, about whether he deserves this, a couple of things here. When the New York Times falsely claimed that Iraq had WMDs, and that lie led to the deaths of hundreds of thousands, there was no billion-dollar judgment. When Rolling Stone magazine published the false UVA rape story, there was no billion-dollar judgment. But when he said something stupid about Sandy Hook, $1 billion judgment. He said, by the way, just looking at this, in 2019 in a sworn testimony and on-air statements, he fully acknowledged that the shooting happened, children were killed, and that his past comments were 100% wrong. He said this. He said it repeatedly. He said it. But $1 billion? They were trying to, they're basically, they're telling him, we're going to put you out of business. This is not about compensating people. Let me also explain something to you. The problem also took place with the following. And by the way, this was so, I think he said later on he had like a psychosis or something by virtue of being involved in this business. I don't know. But it was stupid. But here's the question I don't understand. You know, there are people who say, for example, they don't believe in landing on the moon. All right. And I, honest to God, I'm not really sure what the basis for that is, but I know a lot of people don't, and that's fine. Okay. Let's assume you say, I don't believe that we landed on the moon. All right. Now do you have the right to say that? Yeah, you got the right to say that. Do you have the right to address the narrative of something? Absolutely. Of course you do. When you say, I don't believe Lee Harvey Oswald was a lone gunman, you're not believing the narrative. You're not believing the narrative. If you say that I don't believe Sirhan acted alone, you're not believing the narrative. That's what you have the right to say. You have the right to say this. Now let's go back to this landing on the moon business. Let's assume that you were to say this, and you say, I don't think they landed on the moon. I think it was all a Kubrick backlot story and blah, blah, blah. And let's say some lunatic were to hear what you're saying and then drive over to, of all places, Buzz Aldrin's home and attack and threaten Buzz Aldrin and his family. Because Buzz is perpetuating some myth, and they're doing that because you said, I don't believe he did this. So they're going to now sue you because of the pain and suffering caused by some lunatic who acted not at your behest, but because of what you said. Do you know how dangerous this gets? But like I said, $1 billion? We're missing the point here. This is lawfare. This, not only lawfare, this is going after somebody just to teach them a lesson. And if we're going to have free speech, we can't hide behind this. Well, it's not the government doing it. It doesn't have to be the government. That's all this is about. And if you don't like somebody, don't listen to them. It doesn't matter. There are people who've said stuff all the time. There are people who, I was listening one time, who was it? Geraldo said something one time. I think it might have been actionable, but it was his opinion. And opinion still stands. I'm trying to think who it was. Oh, God. I forget who it was. It was very interesting. And by the way, Geraldo, very, very important member of our world and culture, because he was the one who, by the way, produced or exposed the Zapruder film. Remember, it was on the show Good Night America. And when the Zapruder film was shown, now what if somebody were to see this and say, wait a minute, you mean you lied to me? And then somebody gets in their car and they go over and they attack the living members of the Warren Commission? Because do you know where this goes with this? Do you understand how they're just shutting down speech? And you're missing whether somebody made a mistake with whether the punishment that was exacted towards them is any way proportionate or warranted by what they said. Let me tell you something. We say all the time that we don't believe something. There are people who say, I don't believe in what? I don't believe Fauci. I don't believe. How many times have you said, I don't believe Fauci? I think he's lying. I think the CDC is lying. What happens if somebody tries to threaten Fauci and his family? What are you going to do? Get sued on that because something that you said may have led to a lunatic going out and acting accordingly? We got to be very careful with this. And I'm going to say one more thing, and I told you I'm consistent. I hate this notion of lawfare. I don't want to use the laws of, especially the prosecutorial laws, against people because I don't agree with them. I cannot stand Letitia James or James Comey or Luigi Mangione, but I don't want to charge them with crimes that aren't provable or where there's no probable cause or where they're facially or actually or factually deficient. Angelina in Yonkers, you're on the other side of midnight with Lionel.
Yes, Lionel, this is Angie. Angelina. Listen, I think you're wonderful.
Thank you. I agree.
Yes, and you did. Then, you also sound like Joe Pesci, the actor.
I never heard that. Wow, I never thought of that.
Yeah. You sound a little like him.
That's great. Thank you, Angie.
Okay.
All righty. That's good. Deep. I think the word is deep. I heard Joe Pesci on helium, or my favorite is Curly Howard on Benzedrine. 800-848-9222. Soon, President Trump to address the Israeli parliament. And right now, Trump arrives. I'm looking at MSNBC. Trump arrives at the Knesset as hostage release is underway. And I'm trying to read or to understand what these people are going to say. This is incredible. Like I told you, there is a cottage industry, ladies and gentlemen, a cottage industry. I'm not even sure what that even means, a cottage industry, but there's a group of people working in a cottage. And they are a part of an organization that believes they are strong, critics of Israel. Okay, fine. And that's up to them. Go ahead. You can be a critic of the United States, Israel, France at 30 past the hour. Anything you want. And I'm going to be listening today. What are you going to say? How are you going to poo-poo, dismiss, or not substantiate the gravity, the criticality of the fact that this president, was responsible in the release of these hostages? I mean, it's incredible. There are people out there who, depending upon who you talk to, they are so ravenous. I'll tell you who example. Anna Kasparian. Did you ever see her? Anna Kasparian is a part of this. She's the distaff moiety of a show called The Young Turds, along with Junk Yogurt. And they represent this group of people, and she is seething, fire-breathing. She drips. She drools. She salivates. She snarls. She gasps. She pouts. She puffs. She hoots and hollers at the name Netanyahu. She goes crazy. Candace Owens drips, snarls, bites, snaps. And you mentioned she talks about Zionism and she through clenched teeth. And I'm thinking, what is the matter? You know what it is? In addition to the point that she's trying to make, that ups the response, the likes, the reposts, and all that kind of jazz. Who else? Oh, Abby Martin is another one. Snarls, howls, hoots, blasts, bleats, screams. I've never seen anything like her. There are other people who say some pretty powerful stuff, Max Blumenthal and Aaron Monte and Katie Halper and others, who make very, very strong statements against the policies of Israel, but they never get angry. They never snarl. They're same thing with this country. There are people who I don't understand it. It's like they've never been right before. And whenever they get right, they figure, I can do a lot better on social media if I scream and if I snarl at these people. Same thing with Trump. I'll tell you what I disagree with, but I never get angry. I never got angry at Biden. I never yelled at Biden. I don't. This is politics. Because as soon as this is done, there's another one and another person. But these people are crazy, whether it's Jasmine Crockett or whether it's AOC, because we are acting sometimes like children. And the thing I've always said, remember one thing. Every time you hear a story, remember I'm telling you this, whenever you want to analyze this, always be able to tell me each side's perspective. And I mean it. Don't just pretend to. I want you to tell me the perspective of each side. Tell me what each group thinks. Tell me what each person thinks. Tell me what each of these folks think. Tell me what they think. Explain the Israeli position, explain the Palestinian position, explain the Iranian position, explain the Democrats' position, whoever it is. Be able to explain it. If you can't explain it, you don't understand it. It's that simple. You don't understand it. I remember one time when all of a sudden, today is Columbus Day, and for some reason years ago, or all of a sudden it became Indigenous Peoples Day. And I'm thinking to myself, why are you saying this? Why are you saying this? Do you really honestly believe, seriously, that Christopher Columbus is so much of a, no, I don't believe you for a moment. You're just acting accordingly. You're just saying this because of the fact that this is part of what's cool today. And in order for you to do the right thing and to be beholden to your particular political ideology, you have to spew this drivel. I've been here before. I've been around the block. I know what I'm talking about. Lou in San Francisco. Wait a minute. Lou, you're on the other side of midnight with Lionel.
Hi. While I've been listening on a TV and whatnot about these hostages.
Yes, sir.
And I have a question. Mm-hmm. How come all 20 hostages are male? And how come no females survived? And were they subjected to different treatment by the Muslim captors?
Lou, at this particular time, if I answered that, I would be lying. I do not know. But those are very interesting questions. Lou, what do you suspect?
I don't know. I really don't know.
Well,
now I have a second point, if you'll take it.
Yes, sir.
Okay, this is about the mayoral race in New York City.
Yes, sir.
And I don't think it makes any difference what Curtis Lewa does. This Mandami is going to win.
Why is that?
The reason why he's going to win is because there's been a whole influx of new residents who are on the dole, who are on welfare, who are getting freebies, and this Mandami is promising them free everything, and they're going to vote for him. It doesn't matter what Curtis does. It doesn't matter what the governor does. Mandami is going to win because of the change in the makeup of the population of New York City.
Well, that has been the thought. Lou, you're not the first one to think this. Whether or not, and how many people of the new voters or new residents make up this voting bloc, I don't know. But it's an absolutely critical point. It also bespeaks and refers to something which is the most important. One of the reasons why people forget, one of the reasons why all of this is critical, why all of this is necessary, why people wonder sometimes, why is there this influx? Why do the Democrats seem to want to encourage and focus on and basically feel some type of a degree of elation upon seeing huge numbers of illegals pouring over the border? And the idea, in fact, one time it was provided by Mr. Tucker Carlson, the replacement there, and they said, that's racist. Remember what I told you before? Whenever you're called racist, anti-Semitic, Islamophobic, transphobic, it means that you're normally right. But they need to go, not so much, they can't say that what you're saying is wrong. They will contest the motivation. See, whenever somebody calls you a racist, it doesn't mean that what you're saying is incorrect. It means that what made you say that, the reason why you said that, what you were hoping for when you said that, is this thing of racism. And that means you're correct. Remember, you only take flack when you're over the target. Mike in South Carolina, you're on the other side of midnight with Lionel.
Wow, that was quick. How you doing, Lionel? And a shout out to Matt. I've been listening to him for years, and he's one of the best. I'm Italian.
One of the best 100%. What, sir? One of the best what?
One of the best what, sir? behind the scenes, improvisation, comments, he's aces. Thumbs up.
He's one of the best behind the scene.
Yes.
And what does he do behind the scenes, sir?
Oh, you want me to go and describe exactly
no.
daily to
I
daily
agree with you.
as I'm listening?
I'm joshing with you. I
You're
agree.
stepping on the words, Lionel.
100%, sir. 100%. I agree.
Rim shot.
Yes, sir.
You're Italian, half Italian, I believe, whatever. I'm 100% Italian, second generation Caucasian.
Mm-hmm.
And too bad there's not a parade today, but everyone, what'd you say? They wanted to call it Indigenous Day.
Yeah.
I mean, let's get real, people. Let's get real. Okay, I'm going to raise a glass or two of Paisano wine today for my heritage. Forget about it.
But here's the question. We could talk a little bit about Columbus and how much of the narrative is correct and whatever.
Right.
I don't think anybody. I honestly, I think today, when you say Columbus Day, this is about Italian Heritage Day. That's what I think it is. I don't think anybody's. I mean, granted, yes.
No.
Cristoforo Colombo is a wonderful person, but I don't think that's really what we're talking about today. So, how did we go from Columbus to an Indigenous Peoples Day? Explain the connection. I'm sorry.
I wish I could explain the connection. I majored in psychology back in the day, college baseball, got hit in the head too many times. Okay.
By the way, did you know, by the way, as an aside, do you know that it was posited, it was suspected that Lou Gehrig did not have Lou Gehrig's disease? No.
My grandmother passed away of ALS, Lou Gehrig's disease. Now, explain that, because you're a lawyer.
Let me try this again.
I got respect for you. Go ahead.
Amyotrophic lateral sclerosis. It is believed that it was posited, it was hypothesized, that Lou Gehrig actually was hit so many times that he didn't have ALS, but he may have had the effects of whatever the repeated trauma to his brain was. So think about this. Imagine this, and this isn't funny at all. But if somebody says you got what's worse than having a disease named after you is not to have the disease. I mean, think about that one.
That is.
It's ironic.
That is. Yes, that's ironic, and I liked what I first heard you. I heard you years ago.
What if I named this virulent form of savage?
I'm laughing my head off.
It's something to think about.
I have my good sister in west coast of Florida.
Mm-hmm.
I like when you were in Tampa, Florida, and I've been down there many times.
Yes,
and obfuscation.
Yes, that poor guy.
The word you use that I'm trying.
Obfuscation. Yes.
There are people. I'll leave you with this, and I've said it many times on different shows, Dominic Carter, whatever. There are people that on the air don't like Italians, and he's in White Plains, and he could go kiss somebody's ass. And he's got kicked off the stations. That was Rusty. You want to be Howard Stern.
All right. Okay. I don't know what that means. Okay. Let's go to Bob in Queens. Bob, you're on the other side of midnight with Lionel.
Lionel, good morning.
Good day, sir.
I am calling to let you know I'm watching the live feed on RAB on Samsung Stream, and you were questioning the reason people were running around with masks on.
Yes, sir.
What it looks like close up is their Israeli Secret Service, and they don't want their faces seen.
Why would they be on TV? There's other people who could be doing their job.
They're just background movers.
No, but I'm saying, why would you risk even that if you don't want to have your name? First of all, why would you, out of the countless hundreds, if not, I don't know, thousands of available Israeli military personnel, why would you even want them near it if you're not going to be able to allow them to walk around? Doesn't make any sense.
I'm just giving my observation because there was a couple close-ups and they had earpieces on.
They all have earpieces on, but I'm saying, why would you want them? If they were people that you did not, that could not be, well, you don't even want them identified. First of all, what does a mask do? It alerts you to them. So somebody can freeze frame it and look at it, do ear oracle scans.
Excellent
And
point.
I don't understand it. But anyway, but I thank you. By the way, here's something interesting about Lou Gehrig. I know this may sound, but I remember reading about this. Lou Gehrig was diagnosed in 1939 with amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, or ALS. This is a degenerative neuromuscular disease. After his diagnosis, his strength deteriorated rapidly. He died in 1941. Because his case was so public and famous, ALS is commonly known in the U.S. as Lou Gehrig's disease. But a 2010 study, Boston researchers argue that in some cases labeled ALS, repeating brain trauma might produce a similar condition mimicking ALS symptoms, but having a different pathophysiology. That has led some to suggest that Gehrig might have suffered from trauma-induced neurologic degeneration rather than classic ALS. Because he had a long athletic career in a time before protective gear, no batting helmets, he may have endured concussions or head and neck injuries. But crucially, there is no definitive post-mortem. So I always thought that was just so interesting that this disease named after you, you may not have had. Again, it's not critical. Now, as far as somebody suggesting, again, whether people might be wearing masks, this is what I would suggest. I don't want anybody in my Israeli military or security staff on a date when everybody and anybody is watching. Everybody has their cameras. They have a camera pool. I'm looking. MSDNC is the same as Fox. Or there's one camera pool. I don't want anybody there, with or without a mask, causing attention to themselves unless they are absolutely okay with being shown around the world. Now, of course, this is a layman's idea. I'm just spitballing, as they say. This is something which I think it'd be a good idea just to bring to your attention. I'm looking right now at the Israeli hostages released as well. Again, we got to figure out, you're right, I don't see women. I don't know how this has worked. And also, I would just refrain from one thing. Look, I can't tell you what to do. I can't tell you what to think. Can't tell you what to say. But one of the things that doesn't do any good, I know it's fun to say sometimes, but it's for all practical purposes ridiculous. One of us, we've got to get rid of all these people. We've got to get rid of all these people. We have to get rid of, we're going to get rid of Hamas. Just get rid of all of them. Now that may sound good. It may sound theoretically on paper, well, that's a good idea. How you're going to do that and not take innocent people is something to consider. You don't want to make matters worse. Ultimately, and I know this is difficult for people to understand, negotiation is the best way to do it. Every single time we ended a war, some type of combat, whether it's World War II, VE Day, VJ Day, or basically hightailing it out of Vietnam, we basically negotiated. We said, that's it. We're going to make a deal. We're out of here. No more death, no more tragedy, no more sadness, no more lost families. This is the day of triumph. Let's focus on this. This is the President's Day. This is his triumph. Don't let anybody take that away from him. Our number is 800-848-9222. This is Lionel with you, and this is The Other Side of Midnight. Listen to this one. This is from Axios. I love this. It says, where is this? Trump says he may tell Putin to settle war or he'll give Ukraine tomahawks. Did you hear what Putin said the other day? It's almost like Putin said, yeah, I know. Tomahawks, don't worry about the tomahawks. That ain't going to do it. It's like Trump is still trying to play, I don't know what the word is, kind of, I don't know if I think he understands it. I'll see if I can explain this to you. The bottom line is, Mr. Trump, you know, and President Trump, you know, and I know that Russia was pushed into this. That was a whole design. It was Victoria Nuland. It was NATO. It was by design. This is Maidan. You know that. We're not going to keep. I don't have to keep explaining this to you. They make this idea that somehow Putin one day says, "I'm going to go in and I'm gonna stop it." No, you're not. That's not the way it happened. That's the way people would like to think it. You know, sometimes, remember, I don't want to give Occam's razor as a reason for this because it's always used incorrectly. Occam's razor does not necessarily mean pick the simplest. It means don't complicate it. Just the opposite of that is Hickham's dictum, right? I think Hickham's dictum says that a disease can be as complicated as you want. In any event, so this is a good date. So here's what you do. I want you to watch today from time to time, and I want you to watch throughout the day what the radical left is going to be saying. They're going to be absolutely going berserk over this. Berserk. They're not going to be able to handle this because they don't know what to do. They can't put anything into perspective. They can't state or specify or list or adumbrate anything that the president's done that's been beneficial to anybody. They can't do it. It is just because most of them are propelled by this hatred. Again, I think a lot of it has to do with the same thing with these folks when they talk about Russia or Israel or even Palestine. Nothing to them can ever be said that's not an 11. That's number one. So watch what happens with them. Number two, watch how this plays ultimately in terms of where's Vance how he's gonna play this, and look at midterms. And also, where's Marco Rubio? I don't know if anybody's even noticed this, but where's the Secretary of State? Huh? You just were a part of, this is the biggest, I'm looking at that tarmac, and you've got Ivanka and Jared, you've got Lutnick, you've got, I don't know if Witkoff's there, or Witkoff maybe is there, but no Marco Rubio. It's unbelievable. How is this even possible? And I just want to say something for the millionth time. You got not just Israel, Hamas to sign off. And what happens? Do people think this is going to happen again? God, I hope not. I mean, this is the most incredible story. I think people, I don't think it's hit people yet. I don't think. This was impasse after impasse. And Trump said, I'm going to do this. And by the way, remember, Putin now is going to put himself in the position where he'll say, now, Donald, now look, remember, I'm not Hamas. I'm not the bad guys here. I didn't take anybody hostage. They came to my border and they started a civil war with me. And you know that. Yes, Vlad, I know that. And you know that. I'm not the bad guy here. Remember why they did this. Remember you in 1962. I don't have the Monroe Doctrine. You do. In 1962, you were going to go to war with my country then, based upon, actually, it was Turkey, the missiles, but based upon the Cuban Missile Crisis. And this was 90 miles from you. And I'm telling you, and I have been saying, you are not going to have a NATO country on my border. Number one. Number two, why is Ukraine still not in NATO? If it meant so much to you and the West and NATO and everybody else, if it meant so much that you were going to throw all of your Article 5 support behind Ukraine, if this was so important for you to free Ukraine, why aren't they a member of NATO? Why? Ask Turkey what they think. What have you been doing? How many years have you had? You've talked about it. How many? And by the way, I want an accounting. This is what Trump should say. How much money, how many billions does Zelensky get? Let me ask you a question. This is Alex Jones' settlement money here. How much does he get? Let's go to Ralph in Manhattan. Ralph, you're on the other side of midnight. This could be the last call, Ralph.
Well, I know. My understanding is the ALS presents itself far differently than the post-traumatic brain injury kind of thing, where if you get hit in the head repeatedly, I think that promotes some kind of like a cognitive effect more so than a neuromuscular kind of a thing. That's why I don't know. I don't buy into the whole thing that Gehrig suffered from getting hit in the head.
Ralph, where did you get your medical degree?
I don't have one, of course, and you know that.
And I don't either. I'm reading what researchers have said. And researchers said a 2010 study by Boston researchers argued that in some cases, labeled ALS, repeated brain trauma might produce a similar condition, mimicking ALS symptoms, but having a different pathophysiology. That has led some to suggest that Gehrig might have suffered from trauma-induced neurologic degeneration rather than classic ALS, because he had a long career, and at that time there was no protective gear. So this was the hypothesis. This is what was suggested. And I love you to death, but you're sitting back as a layman, and you're saying, I don't know. That's not the way I think it's normally presented. I'm not sure. Are you kidding me? Seriously. Do you not love? And again, I never posit, I never hypothesize, I never advance any kind of an idea or thought regarding medicine or science I know nothing about. I'm very proud to tell you I don't know anything about that. I'm not sure. I'm not sure about that. I can give you a guess. I'm not sure. Do you notice the level of expertise that we see? Do you notice the level of expertise? People are they know everything. Sitting back and saying, as a hunch. I remember one time when we were talking about the Epstein murder, not the suicide, the Epstein murder. And at the time that we talked about the Epstein murder, I said, do you realize what happens in terms of the actual forensics here? Specifically that of the hyoid cartilage being shattered, and a hyoid bone rather, and thyroid cartilage. And others looked at me like, what are you talking about? I'm saying, that's what we're looking at. This is what experts tell me as an example. And going back to, I hate to say it again, what Alex Jones brought up and what people have talked about years ago regarding 9/11. If you look at the specifics regarding some of the actual, not what I'm thinking, but the evidence that was adduced and even stipulated to by NIST, you can't help but say, wait a minute, that may not be the story. In any event, Mr. Blaze, thank you so much for what you've done. And you, Mr. Atwood, there isn't a word to explain, to explicate, to limn, to decipher, to even imagine being able to decide or decipher what you've done so far, because it's yet to be decided, yet to be defined. Thank you so much for watching. This is Lionel with you, reminding you the monkey's dead. The show's over. Sue you.